was in there and got. You picked it up.
Oh.
So for some reason, the camera doesn't power up. Turn on now. Yep, it's on.
See, learned that last night.
It never gets turned off.
Somebody slides the thing over in front of it.
That's a joke, huh?
No, you know who showed me that last night was Vern. He started laughing. He goes, "It's not funny, Vern."
So I think we're up here electronic.
I'm so sorry.
New rubber feet, huh?
I gotta do something, sorry.
Call this meeting to order of the Whitewater Township Board. Roll call when ready.
9:05 AM.
9:05, yep.
Goss here, Bennett here, Glenn,
Here.
Falmouth,
Here,
Pop.
Here. Any changes to the agenda today?
I have one. I'd like to request to add the appointment of Josh Morgan as Whitewater Township Fire Chief as of 4/1.
I'll second. Oh, adding, yes.
That wasn't.
I'm
really-
sorry.
Word?
so that email came out at what time this morning or yesterday?
What email?
I resent it to you too. It came out at 8:24 this morning and I forwarded you.
And it's from,
Yeah, it
it's
was
from-
that it was sent to the entire board. It's a recommendation letter for Josh.
At 8:24.
oh, maybe we should add this to our
Add it to your.
March meeting.
Yep,
12th.
yep,
Yeah, that way everybody will have an opportunity to read the letter.
yep.
I haven't.
Okay,
Ask
just
any
as long as
questions.
everybody understands that we will have no one responding out of this station unless we get him appointed
But is
as
there,
of 4/1.
okay, but is there a difference if we appoint him next Tuesday, which is 5 days away, versus today?
Shouldn't take that long to get it done.
What were you thinking, Cheryl, that we would, what was your request here this morning?
My request was to add to this agenda the appointment of Josh Morgan as Whitewater Township Fire Chief as of 4/1.
Interim, right?
No. He will not be responding if he's appointed interim fire chief. I clarified that with the chief yesterday.
That's not what this email says.
I didn't know that. I don't even know what you guys are.
There's an email at 8:24 this morning in your email.
Well, he does say
I haven't
interim
seen it.
fire chief, but I don't, when I talked to him yesterday, he said he wouldn't be responding because he's not gonna give up his day job for an interim position. But this is what the chief asked for, so if
Mhm.
you wanna do it next week, fine. It's just,
I just don't think we should be pressured into,
Do we even
Making a
have an
decision.
application? Do we even have a resume?
well, I guess what I'm saying
Well,
is, that's a
he's
letter of
already an employee.
recommendation.
Yeah.
Right, it needs.
He's
an-
already an employee, Cheryl, but do we even have a resume of his?
Well,
Has
we-
any board member seen a resume?
this
board
member Yeah, he-
met him.
he
Yeah, this
submitted,
board member doesn't even know who he
he
is.
submitted,
And I need
I-
to-
forget it. I rescind my request.
Okay, well, I want to ask a question here. You just said he won't respond. Was it the chief that won't respond or the gentleman that's applying? And then you made that comment that he doesn't want to quit his
Well, the
other
chief won't
job.
be responding as of April 1st.
I
done.
understand that, but
He said he's staying on as a fireman.
He's not gonna be at the station. He's not gonna be at the station during the day as a fireman. He won't get paid for that. He only will get paid for training and responses.
Okay, I get that.
There
But
will be no one at the station.
you can't just rush into this.
Yeah, I mean,
I rescinded my request. I don't know
Okay.
why you're even still talking about it. Let's move on. What's next?
conflict of interest. Public comment. No one in the room, and I don't see anyone on Zoom. So we will go into the budget work session. Shall we start with general fund? Sure. Looking at the revenue, does anybody have questions about the revenue section?
445. I'm at 1,800 right now. So, for penalties,
I'm sorry, say that again.
445, penalties and
Okay.
interest under revenue.
Uh-huh.
My collection's at 1,800 and some, as it is now. I know it's not reflected there.
Yeah, because we don't have that information. We haven't gotten a report
Well,
from you
be-
in 2 months.
Well,
No, that's not true.
That's not true. You have all of well, no, you don't have the revenue past 12/31. That's
don't?
true. But we
You
don't
wouldn't
get it.
See
You wouldn't
this,
see it because it's doesn't
that
come
report
in
anyway.
until late. She doesn't get that in January.
no, that I get the penalties from February 16th to February 29th this year. That's when the penalties actually
Right.
come into the
Okay.
township. Before that, we basically get nothing from interest or taxes. We don't.
That's right.
I mean, it's.
That's just because of the deadline.
Yes, yes. We get the 3%, everybody else gets the 1% that is accumulated over the tax season.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason you don't see this is because I'm just closing my books with the county today. We're doing closing today.
And the $1,800 numbers firm, you think that's the top?
Oh, yeah,
So-
yeah. I collected more last year in penalties. People paid more, you know, because when they get their delinquents, because I send them out, they go out February 16th. If you haven't paid, you're getting a statement from me saying, hey, here's your last chance to pay before I have to send it to county, which not only do you get our 3% and the 1% that hasn't been paid, but you get hit with a 5%. So if it's any significant amount, it could be $400 or $500, depending,
Mhm.
you know. So it's an incentive for people, and I do get quite a few people paying. So this year was less than last year, but you know, I mean, if you look at it last year, it was over 3,000.
Are you recommending we change the 1,500 number?
Yeah, I think if we put it back to the 2,000 that was budgeted last year, we'll be more in line with what is actually happening. I mean, I know it's not a lot, guys. I understand that. It's just,
It's $500.
Okay,
Okay, so we're changing that to 2,000.
where do you think we are on the admin fees? See, this is always a difficult line for me
yeah,
to figure, right? Because if you take a look at your tax bill, I don't know what the 1% is calculated on.
what do you mean?
I don't know what the 1% is calculated on.
Well, all the taxes are listed.
Yep.
Calculated on their assessed or the taxable values, what it is calculated on.
It's right on your bill. What it is.
So if you take your assessed value and you do the 1% on it, that's gonna be your admin.
Okay. So it's not 1% of the collected.
Unless you're a pilt, in which case there is no.
So
admin.
it's not 1% of the collected value, it's 1% of the taxable value.
Well, let's say that you only pay half your bill. Well, what we're collecting is not the full admin, we're only collecting on what you just said, the collected amount. If you pay the full amount, you're paying the full taxable amount. It's an, what the hell do they call that? It distributes evenly.
So
That's a option.
1% of $291 million
Mhm.
should be a lot more money than $67,000.
But what you're seeing there,
You have to divide that by 1,000 before you multiply it by 1%.
No, because she just told me, and you agree that it's 1% of the taxable value. You said it's right on your bill.
Well, it is on your bill.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
do you want?
Added right to your bill.
me to go get
well, I'm just saying,
cause I just. Well, I printed. the
I pay a lot of,
delinquent-
I'm very familiar with tax bills.
I was gonna say, would you like the total sheet for the tax roll? Cause it will show you. Would you guys like it? It'll
No.
take me a second to print
No,
it.
where do you think the 80,000 is at?
I think it's high. I don't know what next year's is gonna be.
Well, yes, we do.
I don't, because you said we're not gonna get the numbers until March 15th or 14th.
Oh, well, we won't know precisely, no, but we're gonna be at 291,506,190 dollars
So,
of taxable value.
And that's up what, 44,000, 34,000?
well, what you're seeing on
13.
here is what we collected, but don't forget with making me whole with the county will pay us that admin fee. So whatever our role says is what we're gonna end up being whole for.
I'm just asking how to calculate it, because at 1% of the taxable value, which you said and Cheryl agreed, that should generate around, 2 million bucks.
No, because isn't the admin fee decreased?
Mm-mm. Admin fee doesn't pertain to PRE, nothing. So that's what that's why I'm asking, what is the 1% admin fee based on? So it's clearly not taxable value. Clearly, it is not.
What you're not keeping in mind there is the PREs.
PRE does
It's
not.
100% PREs reduces the amount of tax people pay. So even if their property is worth 200,000, if they have a PRE, it basically cuts whatever tax they're going to pay in half.
Incorrect.
No, that is not incorrect.
Yes, it is.
Prove it.
Okay.
Prove it. Go get a summer tax bill and show me. Their taxable amount never changes, but the amount of tax they are calculated on that, if they have 100% PRE, does change.
PRE is principal resident exemption.
Yes, it is.
It only exempts you from the 18 mills of school tax.
That's right.
It does not exempt you from operating millage or anything like that. It does not.
Yes, it does. It exempts you from the 18 mil. That's an operating millage. That's a millage. So it
Extra voted operating.
doesn't matter, Ron, it reduces it. Oh, you're right, Ron. I've only done this for how many years, but you're right.
Okay. Yeah. I'm good. If you say the PRE reduces the taxable value of the property, I'm totally good.
What number do you think should go in there, Della? Let's cut to the chase.
No, we'll go with 67,000, like whatever we came with up last year, that you came up with.
That's what we're doing,
Yeah, it
67?
doesn't seem like there's a basis for the 80,000.
Well, if you take a look
That
at,
that way, we're being conservative, and if we get more, cool.
if you take a, Cheryl, the basis comes from the prior year at 70, almost 76,000. And by the time you add in the additional taxable value that we have here in the township, 80,000 is probably spot on. But I hate to draw conclusions from data. That would be just wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
What number are we putting in there?
67,000. Any other concerns in,
You had a note there on note 1
uh-huh,
on the state grant and where to place the county ARPA fund revenue.
yeah,
I'm not sure where it goes.
I'm not sure either.
So
So,
Ardella, any thoughts on that?
I'm sorry, what?
County ARPA funds, where to place them? Or is,
line item 566. It's state grants and ARPA funds.
The
I-
county ARPA funds are going to 209. That's where the trail project's coming out of. That's where those funds would be deposited.
Are we sure? Because Whitewater Township was the awardee.
Oh, I get it, but if it's for, why would it go into a different account when it's,
'Cause when you move
all of it
with
is
success of
awarded
the
to
grants,
a project out of the 209 fund?
Wouldn't you move it at time of billing? When it's.
That-
Why
that-
create that paperwork?
That's what we did with the federal funds, if you remember correctly.
Well, that's
And-
because we didn't have them allocated when we got them.
And if you remember guidance from the federal ARPA funds, that's the reason why we set up its own fund.
Well, in any event, if you want to put it in that fund, then it doesn't, it's not gonna come in the general fund either. So, take your pick. But the general fund would not be the appropriate place.
Well, that's what we did with the grant money coming into the park. We put it right in,
The park
Mhm.
fund.
yeah. I mean, I'm looking at it from last year.
What grant money did we get last year for the
The-
park?
The 200,000,
That didn't come until just recently.
but we
Oh, we
budgeted that it was
budgeted
gonna
in
be
there.
in
I
here.
got it.
Do
I
the
got
weight.
you. Mhm. Yeah, well, that's fine. That's the reason I didn't put anything there, and that's the reason note number 1 is there. So we're gonna put it in 208,
209,
209.
that's the rec fund, right? Yeah. Probably.
And in fact, we put it in 209,000, 590 in the budget we're in. The $95,970, it's already been put in. That's what was budgeted for this year, to put it in 209, 590.
So we should do the same this year.
I would think.
I would agree.
Is there a Zoom link for today's meeting?
I don't think I put out an agenda, but we are on Zoom.
Well, what's the Zoom link or what's the meeting ID and the password?
I don't, look it up.
Well, I'm pretty sure Brandon wanted to get on, but apparently he wasn't able to because it wasn't advertised. I don't see it anywhere on the, I don't see it anywhere on the, website.
Any other recommendations on revenue? So,
Oh, okay, collection fees. That's for the schools, collection of the school. Correct?
what line item?
That would be 448.
There.
7,800 is too high.
80? Oh, 448. Well,
What would be the difference, Ardella? We $7,800 in the prior year when we're only.
Because you had,
41 this
because
year.
I billed 1 year late, so by the time they paid, it showed up in the same fiscal year as the current.
Oh, so
So it, yeah,
so that $7,800 was a double period.
yes. So, that 4,158, if you went to 4,500, it'd be more realistic,
Okay, that makes sense.
cause I increased it.
4,500 for 448.
Yes, yes.
any other changes there? So that brings the total to 664,246.
664,246.
Yep, 664,246. Any other observations on expenditures for township board?
You had, let's see, maybe, let's go here, make sure it's. So, note 5 in here, you had, it was for a office computer, which is no longer capital expense. So is there one that's being replaced or added this year?
No, I just put it in.
Just put in case the need was there?
Yep.
Okay.
The pension fund number, on this board, there's only 2 people on that, and the other 3 people are not eligible for, the current other 3 people sitting here are not eligible for the pension fund. Someone could come in November and be eligible for it for the last 4.5 months of the fiscal year. But once you've signed an irrevocable waiver, you can no longer participate. That seems a little high.
So thinking about professional services,
Would it be high if the next two, if your ZA and your, I'm just talking out loud here, people. If your ZA and fire chief came on board, would that number be realistic if they signed up for the pension? Or wouldn't they be eligible?
The only people who are eligible are full-time or elected officials. The chief, is full-time, so he's eligible, but of course that gets paid out of the fire fund, not out of this fund.
Okay, figured I asked.
And
I get it.
can't imagine we're gonna have a full-time zoning administrator, but, they would be eligible, just as Andrew is eligible and is in the plan. Out of the park fund.
So how did you come up with that number, Ryan?
wages. It's just a calculation box. That's all it is. And so while Cheryl is right in what she says, not everybody applies to it. We still need to put a number in there. And,
And the zoning administrator would come out of the zoning, if the zoning administrator did become eligible, we would, it would come out of the zoning administrator, department. Not this department. It wouldn't be under township board.
so we're
So-
figuring a budget number here, right?
So,
If we want to divide it out into the different departments, that's all well and good. I'm fine.
Well, that's how it has to be done.
This
So,
is.
a
the
zoning
line item
administrator
that's
gets
there,
paid under
so
the zoning
tell me
administrator
what you
department.
put in
which
there.
one are we talking about?
830, the pension plan, 18,426.
That's what I thought we were talking about, but then you started talking about professional services. There could be a whole new board here come November, and they may all say, yeah, I wanna be a part of the plan. So
Yeah.
maybe
And that's what
erring on
comes
the
there.
side of higher.
the number's there.
I mean,
Okay, but what I'm getting at, it's only for the last 4 1/3 months of the fiscal year. So
Okay. I
that
see.
number seems high for that.
So if you only calculate, did you calculate it at 4 months or did you
No.
calculate it at a year?
Year. Yep.
So then drop it. For 4 months. If that's a year. And they could only take it for 4 months. Then we need to drop that into a quarter, wouldn't?
You know, you do what you want. I'm just pointing it out that you've overfunded that and probably underfunded other things, but I'm just pointing it out.
Okay, so professional services, then I have a question on. We set aside $9,000 last year. And I'm thinking that that is for our HVAC system, right? The engineering of it.
mhm.
And now with the ceiling incident, we've just got another straw on the camel's back. And I'm thinking it's time to make that move. I've not heard back from C2AE. They were gonna get a price to draw up the building, make some structural determinations upstairs. If the equipment could be housed up there.
And go to a forced air HVAC system or,
So, I didn't recommend anything. Ardella, I think, would like to go to a forced air, which would mean we're kind of down in the basement, which is kind of narrow down there.
Right.
And
You mean for the duck?
for the ductwork, yeah. And, I'm a big fan of, mini splits.
Mhm.
You know, you pipe liquid to where you want the heating or the cooling. And you could potentially have each office its own zone.
Mhm.
So
Is that electric?
so the air heat pumps, yep, I
A lot
have
of
2 or 3 of them. And the ones that I use, if you go down to an outdoor temperature of 17 degrees, they still have a 4-to-1 benefit ratio. So 1 unit of energy in, you get 4 out.
So. how many heat pump mini splits would need to be purchased? I don't know how this works. Do you need just one big heat pump and then you have all the mini splits running off in it? Does each mini split have to have its own heat pump? I don't know how they work.
That's why I asked somebody who deals with them every day to put an engineering package together, right? Or at least give us a price on putting that together. Because I could tell you how it works, somebody could disagree. Huh. So,
I sent you an email. You probably haven't even seen it with all the budget stuff going on. I asked a question about, the heat in my office. Did you see that email?
No.
I didn't know that we had discovered if it could be fixed or not. You said it has to be shut off. Well, I thought it had already been shut off. But not?
so the day the problem was reported,
Mhm.
Fire Chief Flynn came over and we turned off the breaker.
Yep, I remember.
Okay, so we didn't want someone to say, oh, it's cold in the office, let's turn the breaker back on. So then we had Voltage Electric apparently come out and then they physically disconnected it. Yep. So you could go turn on that breaker now and the wires are terminated in a box in the attic rather than just open air bare.
So we do know for sure that the electrical wires had been compromised with that break in the ceiling.
We don't know, but do you want to take?
No,
I-
of course I don't.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if there is a repair for that that's going to happen, or if we're gonna abandon that and move on to something more efficient.
I'm for abandoning the heat in the ceiling.
Doesn't make any sense. Heat rises.
So-
Well, the only request that I have is that it would be put on the agenda as a priority before winter hits again,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
because it's like an ice box in
Yeah.
there.
So 804 professional services, I think we should probably bump that back up to 9,000.
Okay, well, I just want to interject here that 804 professional services, the history of that in the current budget is that you requested 2,500. The board did not change that 2,500 during the course of any budget discussions or budget work sessions. It went to the public hearing as 2,500 in the recommended column. And on the date of the budget public hearing, it was raised to 9,000, and the additional amount was to finish the general ordinance and zoning ordinance recodification. So it didn't have anything to do with anything in the building. And also anything that has anything to do with repairs or maintenance to the building is under the 265 department, Township Hall.
But design wouldn't go under 265.
It would. If it's for building maintenance, it would. Yes, that's where it would go. It's a building related.
Is that where it's always gone? I mean, we've had,
So.
Well, we haven't had any design work done for this building. We had the facility needs study done. That was paid for out of the public improvement fund. This building hasn't had any maintenance done to it in close to 12 years.
So we would put zoning professional services under the township board, not under the zoning department? Is that
It
what
was,
yours-
as I
we did?
indicated, my note is on 321, additional amount to finish general ordinance and zoning ordinance recodification. So I'm just telling you what the history is. That's why it was bumped up $6,500 on the date of the budget public hearing.
And that
And
didn't
once
happen.
again, building expenses go under the township hall department.
Does
So-
265 have a professional services in it?
I don't know that
I
if
don't-
it
I don't
does,
think I
but
see
if it does and you want it to pay for some professional services,
seems
we
like
can
it-
certainly add that line item.
Professional services are for township hall, then as long as it's a line item. It's
Township
more,
Hall and Grounds is Department 265. And no, it does not have an 804 line item, but it could.
seems more intuitive to put it there.
I'm good.
Under Township Hall and Grounds?
Well, if the design work's being done for the township hall and it's professional services, so you should have an 804 then, just to tie it to that work.
So are we adding 804 to 265?
So I think,
Throwing it out there for discussion. I
Okay.
believe So,
All right.
I think that 804 professional services will have to be added to zoning then too, right?
Well, it's already in there.
I don't know why.
That's what
we
Bob
would have
gets paid out
added
of.
it to this line item.
It already had planning department or the zoning department, I believe, already has 804 and that's what Bob gets paid out of. Oh, I'm sorry, it's 80, yeah, no,
It's
804. That's what Bob gets paid out of his professional services as an independent
So I
contractor.
say we leave it at 450 then. Or
For the town.
1,200 or 2,000. Because township board isn't gonna have too many professional services.
I would just bring it back to the prior year, 1,200.
Okay,
You still wanna leave the pension plan at 18,426?
I was gonna say, I recommend we bring it down to 7,677 or 77,
I got 6,800, so
because I did 5 months.
that's what I did. But then
I took the total amount you had, 18 divided by 12, times it by 5, and that's what I came up with.
Repeat that number, please.
7,677.5, so I
just make.
I rounded up to 7,700.
how about cleanup services?
Okay, hold on here. What is it gonna be for 830? 7,700?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
Before we
804 was
go-
1,200.
okay,
And
so
let me do it.
now I am seeing that you've lowered the amount for township board salaries. And I'm wondering why that is when 2 years ago, the 2 fiscal years ago, it was 11,000, and so far through 131, it's been 9,020. Why would that go down to 8,000?
So I believe I calculated out the number of meetings at 18. And last couple of
Not
years.
enough.
Because we've had a lot of major projects going on. And I believe that's in note number 3.
Yeah. And we did. We had a lot of separate meetings for.
Yeah.
Well,
because-
boat launch for the-
18
yeah.
meetings only contemplates 6 additional meetings for something else. And then we've already got 5 meetings to do with budget. I'm quite sure last year it was based on 22 meetings. But I don't know why it would be a lower amount. That's not going to work.
So let's go to 12,000 then. You good with that, John?
Fine by me.
Heidi, you good with that?
Yep.
So the ones in dark on here, again, highlighted the gray, I can't enter anything
No,
in.
you can't,
Okay,
because those are calculation boxes.
Well, 715 and 716 are gonna change, Della, but,
no, I'm talking about,
She's talking. trying to do
817.
830 and
oh, no, not, I'm
Eight.
sorry.
30.
Yeah, pension, 830, I can't enter anything in
No.
there.
No,
but it's going to 7,700, you said.
Right, and
Yeah.
you changed professional services to 1,200, right? Ardell?
Yes.
Yeah.
804.
So I see GFL went up with their quarterly rates again. Any read on what cleanup day might be?
Well, we didn't use GFL because they were outrageously priced. I mean,
Right.
they went up 76%.
They're out of their minds.
Again,
They did though, and some townships are still doing it, and I don't understand why they would not look for a different vendor. We did, and, the first year we used them, it was like, I don't know what's gonna happen here. Never did containers. Don't know how this is gonna work. We had a little bit of problem with the grass issue. They came back, they fixed it. This last year, we moved containers to a different location, so it was easier for people to drive in and stuff. It went a lot smoother. And Chris has been really easy to work with. So I'm gonna contact him again, and I will contact the other vendors that I had. But I'm not anticipating more than a 10% increase.
Okay. So that should then 10% increase over the 12,000, the 14,000
be
should
fine.
still accommodate.
More than, yes, yeah,
And you're not taking tires, right?
not taking
And you're
tires.
gonna put that on the front page of the.
Oh, it'll be
newsletter
on there.
that We're not
You know,
taking tires.
I've done a little looking into that. There are numerous companies that will come grab them for free.
Yep,
Really? You
Yeah.
wanna hook me up with who they are and I'll contact them?
Sure.
Because, yeah. The vendor that we used for years and years and years, he's out of business.
Yeah.
So he's not doing it no more. I mean, he gave us great rates.
Right. Dues and memberships good at 4,500?
yep.
Mileage reimbursement? Education and training? Publishing? Newsletter expense, Ardella.
Yes.
I took a little money out of there. Maybe I took too much.
Postage is a different line.
Yeah,
Cause say postage has gone up and it's gonna go up again.
yeah. But this is really just the generation and the copying.
Mm-hmm. I think, could we go with 13 just to be safe?
I would go 15 if you would like.
Yes.
Okay,
it's 9:03.
correct.
Yep.
Any thoughts on the postage meter rental?
Have we gotten an increase in fees? Cheryl?
Oh, we haven't got the bill yet. Well, it looks like we paid $9.69. Yeah, we pay that every month. Yeah, I think we pay that monthly. And there's going to be some service on that. It's malfunctioning right now. Service call has been put in. It's supposed to be here today, I think.
So we want to do 1,500 maybe?
You don't have a service contract on that machine?
I know it needs a part. I was told by Lois.
Cheryl, do you have a service contract?
Yeah,
on
we
it?
have some kind of contract on the machine. I just think, no, 1,400 might be good. I mean, prior fiscal year, we spent 13. So it's just
according-
that we don't, this isn't up to date on, what the expense is so far.
According to my documents, we spent 1,003 last year on it.
According to this document, we spent 1,292.
Oh, you're
That's
talking
prior
two
year
different lines
actual.
here. You're talking 940 and 941. Which one are we talking about?
I'm on 940.
I'm on 9:40.
Oh, on 940, okay. I'm sorry, I had jumped down to the rental fees on it. Well, yeah, because that's 2 units. That's the copier. No, I think that's just the copier. Yeah, 940 is the copier, not the postage meter. The postage meter is under 941.
Yeah,
So-
that, the title's wrong.
Yeah,
So
They're two different
Equipment
companies.
postage
rental is-
meter comes out of there.
Yes, out of 940.
no, the copier comes out of 940. The
No,
sharp
because
copier,
941 says postage meter rental fee.
that's right. And Ron has 940 equipment rental, postage meter and copier.
Copier needs to stay.
Yep.
Yeah,
Got it.
postage meter is incorrect.
That's what I said.
So are we staying at 1,200 on the copier?
I would.
And then we go to 1,400 on the postage meter?
I don't have a problem with that.
So repeat that again, you're going 12 and 15,
12
Well,
and
it's just
14.
what's written there. There's no change.
okay.
You know, it'd be nice if we could get rid of all these zero column things.
We can probably delete Grand Vision. Nothing's been posted to that. Boardman River Project and Gypsy Moth Program. We can, once something's posted to it, you can't delete it for so many years.
Right.
But we haven't, we
It'd
can
be
delete
nice to clean
those.
some things up.
Gypsy moth, those coming back.
This,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's gonna be happening.
Well, we can delete the Grand Vision. There's no more Grand Vision. That's been defunct for a lot of years.
I just think it would make some of our documents more readable if we didn't have continuous things that are never being used. What kind of things, and I ask this every year, never mind.
What?
What things go in miscellaneous expense?
Petty cash sometimes?
No, petty cash doesn't go in miscellaneous expense. I don't know what that is. I'd have to pull a report,
That's okay. Never mind.
something that didn't go somewhere else.
So I know we had scrap tire expense last year, did we not?
No,
No,
So-
the
we
grant-
didn't
budgeted
take
for it, we
tires.
did not have
So
it.
the 0 is correct then?
You didn't
Okay.
take tires last year.
We didn't take tires last year, I know.
No, it was the year before you got the semi-full
Yep,
and had the grant. And so therefore there was no cost the prior year either.
that's
Do we
right.
want to keep some money in there to do that, just in case we can get hooked up with another vendor or what?
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
You know, put 1,000 in there?
No. Normally when, well, I see, but that's when I had that vendor that charged us such a low rate. Normally we don't go anywhere near 500. And I'm not planning on advertising that we're taking tires unless I know for sure
Yeah.
I have some.
No, I understand.
Because, Chris charges us $7 a tire. And that's why I said no tires.
Place called Wheels for Wishes that takes tires.
So that brings that cost center to 70301.
I'm sorry, could it just, are we staying on the scrap tires? We keeping the 500 in there?
I believe that was the conversation.
Okay, yeah, okay, thank you.
Township board is 70301. Any issue in the supervisor's office?
Your office supply expense. Is that where we're going to be putting a new laptop if it's needed?
That's a good thought. You know,
Cause you've had some issues with
Yeah.
that,
it's,
so,
it's ongoing and it's, I mean, like I say, the other day when we were in the budget meeting, it wouldn't let me into. Yeah. So
I
probably.
might wanna agree with that.
Have another I didn't set this computer up, so I don't know if the software is transferable or not. If it's not, then we need about $3,000. If it is,
$3,000. How much did you pay for your laptop, Dell?
I paid $650 for the laptop,
Right,
and I think it was,
and then
I
you
had
had,
to have all new software.
$1,000 or something.
Because my software was
Right.
outdated.
yeah, I
It was like
mean,
$1,800.
shouldn't need
$1,900
more than
total.
$1,800.
did you get Adobe Pro?
No,
I got Adobe, but I
Yeah, you
don't
did.
think I went with Pro.
So
Why do I need Pro?
the supervisor will. You might not, but the supervisor will.
Yeah,
There
'cause
is a
tax-
question. It used to be when we owned a company and we had to buy Microsoft Office.
Mhm.
We bought the enterprise suite where you get 10 licenses.
Yep.
And it's a lot cheaper than buying individual licenses. How come we've never looked at doing that?
I have with NetLink and, I don't remember exactly what he said, but Microsoft is probably the only one that would offer that. They're a dealer, so they could do that.
Adobe Pro 2020 for Windows, non-subscription is $299.99.
So $300.
That's a lot cheaper than what we paid just a few months ago.
it was $580.
Yeah,
So whatever you think it is that's gonna
Yeah.
be needed, just add it to this because
4,500.
What line item is this?
it's 727 under
Office supplies
Office.
and expense.
supervisor 171.
And this is because a new laptop is expected?
Possible.
I disagree with the late fees.
Well, you don't have to put anything for the budget, but you incurred them.
No, you did. You caused them.
Oh, stop.
Okay, but we don't wanna talk about this right now.
Yeah. Are we done with supervisor?
No. Um. Because we are going into an election year, and again, we could have possible new people. Maybe we might want to be considerate and bump up our educational expenses so that people can get training. Where I've been here a long time, I don't need it as well as a new official would. So I would like to make sure that we have enough in the educational training and the meals and lodging expense. So what do you think? I mean, I'm gonna recommend it for my own too.
That's what I thought.
So you only get
I mean,
put
I've got-
400?
I mean, I see your point. I see your point. But there's, I mean, you want to tap it up a little bit. If someone were to come in, they're not taking over till first meetings in December. And then the first quarter is just budget and swamping. I mean, and I'm not sure how much time there is for that with somebody.
Well, right off the
Well,
gate,
they
though,
will
they
need
do
to
the
be.
new
I,
official training.
right,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm saying. So I agree that it needs to go up. I'm saying, I think we just need to be cognizant of what is really mandated or what's really needed and because it's not gonna go overboard in the
Yeah,
first
I
90
agree.
days. So I'm agreeing with you just for a different reason. So,
I get it.
so
But $250 for meals and lodging isn't even gonna get you 2 days in a hotel.
Nope.
So could we go to 4 on that?
I was gonna say
Ron?
go to 5 and 6.
This is your budget. This is,
Yeah, I'm
Your department.
comfortable the way it is.
all right.
I'm gonna leave it at that.
I'm good.
Elections,
What's the new bottom line?
56,628.
In elections, of course, we just paid, our election inspectors for their, working here on election day. We're gonna be getting a bill from East Bay Township for, our portion of the cost of providing inspectors for early voting. And, we have, two major elections coming up in this next fiscal year, August and November. And I don't think there's gonna be a May election. And, so we can see if the 25,000, it probably will be enough. I'm good with office supplies and expense at 5,000. The postage at 2,500. And I punched through, what is the year-to-date number for postage? My 3-ring binder punched through that number.
The one I have is 548, but
Five.
that was as of 1/31.
Oh, yeah, I get it. Yeah, no, I'm just wondered what that number was.
Mhm.
The 2,500 I think is good. I don't know why software support is at 0. That should probably go to 900. We will have software support. That we'll have to pay for. We've already got, bought new batteries, for all of our devices. We did get under the grant, for early voting. We have an early voting tabulator now, and we have an early voting express vote. That's the, touchscreen device. So we need to go to 900 on software support so that we've got, money in there for that. Everything does have to have, we have to have the new firmware, done. So I'd like to go to 900 on that.
That's how they calculate the votes. Mhm.
Well,
One for blue,
everything,
one for red.
everything
half
has
for
to
red,
have,
One for blue.
right? Okay, so, and mileage reimbursement, this year we do have to, all our inspectors have to go through, we're not done, of course, with mileage in this fiscal year. And all our inspectors, 500 might be enough. I guess I'll go with that. Meal lodging, 600, education and training, 15, publishing, 600. Yeah, I guess other than bumping the software to support to 900, I'm good with the rest of it.
That brings that bottom line to 38513. 38513. I should have asked Dawn when I had her attention the other day if she is going to raise the monthly employee fee from $100 or whether she compensated in the service contract.
I think she's always compensated in the service
Yeah.
contract and left the employee thing alone.
I
No, the employee thing gets renewed at the same time as, is supposed to
But
be
she
renewed at the
doesn't
same
request a
time.
change in the amount.
She hasn't bumped it to like $200 instead of $100.
Right, okay, yeah, but I don't think we approved a new one yet. We've
No,
only approved the
that's
contract.
probably coming in March, right?
No, I don't think we
assessing?
have an employee contract with her. for
Yeah, we sure do.
$100 a month.
Yeah, we do. We've always had it. Yeah. There's
I
one-
think-
the time we found out.
And we did her a while ago.
No, it's a separate contract.
Huh.
I thought we did
Our
that
recollection is
contract a while ago.
this Made an employee paid $100 a month.
Right, that's what I
Wasn't
saw.
a
I
contract.
thought it was in the assessment contract.
No, they're not even paid out of the same line item.
Right.
It's not covered under, We have the independent contractor agreement. Now that was just renewed, but we have the employment agreement. The last one we have was effective October 1, 2021. This agreement shall continue in effect until the contract with AD Assessing Incorporated is terminated. So I guess this doesn't have to be renewed. And it says she'll be compensated in the amount of $1,200 per year.
So that's not gonna change.
Right.
That was the
But
question.
that is a separate contract with her. And that's why it's paid out of a different line item.
Yeah, it's paid out in assessing services.
So I think we send out about 1,800 notices.
Yeah, and that 500 isn't enough for the assessment change notices. The postage does go under the one category, but there's also setup and processing and that type of stuff, and that really needs to stay at 700. I mean, the year prior it was 772, probably should be 800.
No, the printing of the assessments is in that category, correct?
Yeah, that's the print, the setup, the printing, because the postage is separate.
Right.
They separate that out of the cost.
So moving that to 800.
I think it should be moved to 800 because in the prior fiscal year, it was 772.
Let's move it to 800.
Okay. Alright, so we're moving 727 to 800,
Yeah,
okay. Feels like the postage is being increased at least twice a year now.
Yeah, it is.
It's because of gas
Yeah.
Because of
and
what?
wages, fuel and wages.
saying you're mailing out 1,800 pieces, so it's what was it, 65 cents now? 60 cents?
Well, that's why they're used, they get a lower bulk rate. They have
Yeah.
So, I mean,
a
if you're
permit.
mailing 1,800 pieces, $1,500 should cover it.
It has so far.
Okay.
Any other problems with it?
And the 3,200 for 807. Is that this year's contract amount?
The April 1st contract's 31,800.
Okay.
Effective April 1.
So it brings the assessor line item to 36,392. 36.
How does it do that? Because we only added $300. Didn't we only add $300 under 727? Went from 500 to 800? That's the only change I had.
So I have 300, 1,500. Oh,
36442.
That's what I got.
mhm.
Is that the new number? 36442?
Well, that's adding 300 to the 36,142 in the requested column.
Right? Isn't that what you said? We added 300 on line 727.
Yeah,
So that's right.
36,442. We didn't change anything else that I have notated. Please let me
Yeah, I
know if we
don't know
did.
why it's
Unless you put,
picking up a decimal somewhere.
That's weird.
That's weird. We want to do for legal services.
Well, we're already beyond and some new bills just came in and this doesn't have the bills posted through the end of February. And new bills just came in.
That was a little over, it was almost, what, 9,000 for the mediation?
12,000.
12,000 was the total bill, wasn't it? But
Yeah, that-
9,000 of it was, or 9,800 was attributable.
Yeah, but I mean, 12,000 a month was the
Right.
last bill.
No, I get that. I'm just,
Well, that was,
Breaking
no,
it
that was
down.
that was only the Vicky Beam lawsuit bill. There were, I believe, 3 other invoices.
oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah, yeah.
It was 12, but that was cumulative.
No, the Vicky Beam was 11,979, I believe, just itself. And we had some others that weren't too high.
I would opinion we're probably 20,000 short.
I was gonna bump it to 90.
Don't know that I'd be opposed to that.
90 it is.
New total?
90,000.
Are you sure?
Sure you're not missing a couple
That's no
pennies?
point here.
Carol, your department?
Yeah, I'm not sure why, the deputy clerk wages went down to 16,000. They need to be the same as they were last year, 20,370. You can see that in the prior fiscal year, they were 16,393. So I don't know why we would go below that. There's gonna be, there already were many extra hours worked by her for the 227 election.
But that
And-
should go under election, shouldn't it?
Nope, she gets paid out of here. We
Oh.
only pay election workers out of the election fund.
Okay, all right. So
So-
I didn't account for that. As you can see under note 7. I just went the 16 hours a week times 52 weeks. And so I didn't account for,
Well, and
Work
are we
as
giving employees, they get paid on the graded wage scale, so her wage is gonna be going up.
yeah,
Her
did you,
wage is already $20.37 an hour this year.
did you look and see at the graded wage scale to see what her new proposed wage is?
Actually, I haven't, but you've got 1922 here. What does that represent?
That's what I have her at currently.
No, she's at $20.37 an hour.
I pulled that right off of pay records, Cheryl.
No, you didn't. She gets paid $20.37 an hour. Has been this entire fiscal year. Right off the approved graded wage scale.
So you're recommending
Treat-
20,000?
Trees should be at the 12-year mark going into 24, 25. And that puts her at 2098.
No. Where I have that document real handy.
This is a good reason to have payroll in our packets.
This is the graded wage scale. Deputy clerk is under grade 5. And actually, this says in the 13-year, it's 2039. So have you adjusted this scale at all for inflation? I mean, in the,
What year is she in?
yeah,
I have
she's,
Trees going into her 12th year. That's what I have.
no, she already started her 12th year. So she's at 2037 is what I know she's at, and that was the proper amount that was, so this isn't exactly what
So
was.
2037 would be the 11th year.
Oh, yeah, here's the changes. Yeah. So yeah, she's gonna go to, I'm sorry, yeah, 2037 is what I said. She's at, and she's gonna go to 2098. Unless this graded wage scale gets adjusted for inflation.
And it's adjusted by 6%.
Okay, so then what is the 2098? Times 6%,
Proposed would be 2224.
2098 times 6%. Oh, how come this isn't working for me? Twenty-two, 24, did you say?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so 22, 24. So times 1,000 hours, that would be 22,240. I've always based her wages on 1,000 hours. That's part-time,
Well, 16 hours a week is 832 hours.
but she
And
worked
so-
more than 16 hours a week, even sometimes when there's not an election. So she works whatever's needed. So it's not just relegated to 16 hours a week. 2,080 hours a year is full-time, so I calculate she's part-time. That's 1,000 hours, really it's 1,040, but I call it 1,000. So at the new rate, that would be $22,240.
What do you want it?
22,240. As I said, there's gonna be a lot of extra hours this year with 2 major elections coming up. Particularly with all the new requirements, the 9 days of early voting and every other thing we are now required to do.
So we're gonna take that to what number? 703?
$22,240.
240,
22,240.
2240. Got it.
What's 2240?
22,240.
Okay. Yeah. I'm good with the office supplies. We don't have much postage in the clerk's office. It's almost all election postage. dues and memberships, software support. That's probably good. Mileage reimbursement, meal lodging, probably good. Education and training. Of course, that'll be in the election budget. Everybody's got to be recertified this year. So we can leave that at 500. Oh, except that under office supplies and expense, this laptop here is 8 years old. And I'm starting to have some issues with this, so I'd like to have $3,000 in my office supplies and expense for a new laptop as well, because it requires all the programs. So I'd like my 727 line item to go to 4,800. This probably should have been replaced before this, but I've been limping along with it.
What about publishing?
Well, it's expensive. Hopefully 4,000 will get it.
So that was kind of my question, right? With this number at 3265 being the end of January, we still have multiple publishings to go.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to go to 4,500.
Well, a typical, like the
52.
one for the synopsis I did for February 13th, which was an average expense, I think was 133 something. It's about that
So
per
4,500.
page. We can try it.
Brings that line item to 71681.
What was it? I'm sorry, 7.
71681.
You think 4,500 is enough? Well, I guess you'd take it on the master plan for that. Okay.
No, this is synopsis
I
publishing.
know, it's all your publishing, I get it.
Right, yeah. So, and that doesn't really contemplate a rate increase at Record Eagle, but I don't know if they're gonna have one or not, so. Everything's going up.
Ron, does that 71,681 include the calculations on 715 and 716?
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
So I know we don't have, let's see. I was looking at potentially raising the Board of Review. Here's a body that meets infrequently, like the ZBA. And I wonder, there's no authority under State Tax Commission for the Board of Review to meet except their posted dates. But I'm thinking about practice meetings, right? So I wouldn't necessarily say it's a gathering of the Board of Review. I don't know.
Training.
I don't know if it's called training. I
I
got the
would
same
call it
question when I
training.
come to ZBA, right?
How come there is no training under 247 Board of Review?
So we only have
They
to
go
do
to training.
every other year.
I mean, it's not on here.
It's not even on here.
It's not listed on here.
Oh, it's
880.
education in
880.
2880.
Yeah. Yeah, they just went to some training. It's just not shown in here.
I'm sorry. I was looking at bottom line here. I thought that was it.
No, that's a
Forgive
good
me.
question. No, it's a good question.
No, but the certification's every other year, right?
The certification's every other year, so the $1,000 this year is a little heavy, quite frankly, for this upcoming budget year, because we won't have to retrain unless we get a new member. Which, you know, I really need to have 2 alternates. I'm gonna lose one here in March, I think. So I'm gonna be back down to 2 people on Board of Review, which is a bad place to be.
Don used to be on the Board of Review, not you, my dad,
Yeah,
long time ago.
so I'd like to leave it at least at 1,300, thinking that maybe, I mean, Eric does a good job at running the meetings. He's kind of got it down pat. But I don't know how long he's gonna serve, is what it is.
They're gonna move your educational and training to 1,300?
No.
No, he's,
No, I just leave it at 1,000 because, and that's the same argument why I'm not moving the 702. Because we can borrow from 880. If we need to, for educational training, to run an extra meeting or some type of training meeting. So that bottom line is unchanged at 3,049. Della, you're up next.
Okay. Um,
Did you look at note 9?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
And I
So do
looked
you-
at,
do you agree with
no,
Lois going into 14 year 14?
well, actually, I'm looking on your graded wage scale that you
Okay,
gave to us.
Yep.
And Lois's name is underneath the 15 year.
so she's currently under 14. She'll be moving to 15
And
as of
No.
April 1.
no, she's currently under 15 as of the graded wage scale that we adopted. She's been at 2293 this entire fiscal year. Remember, she's been here 4 years longer than some of us. She's moving into her 16th year. And so the 16th year, this is without your 6%, but the 16th year as adopted was $23.62. So whatever that is times 6%.
Okay, but I was looking at the proposed graded wage scale. That's the number that should be in this budget we're planning for. Am I wrong?
Well, I have Lois moving into the 15th year. So we're off a year. It's the same conversation we had with Trees, but somehow we wound back in a circular motion that Trees, it will be moving into her 12th year in 2024, 2025 budget, which is what I have. And so did I make the same?
Look,
I'm not even gonna call it an error.
Cheryl, what is Lois currently at again? Cause now I'm
20.
confused.
She's currently at 2293, the 15-year rate. She's been here since 2008.
Okay, so if we're looking at the red numbers, which would be the upcoming year, under 16-year rate, that's 2504.
Exactly.
Yes,
20,833.28, so. That's if I utilize her all the way through. The full 16 hours a week, if I use her 2 days a week, which it doesn't always happen. But I'd rather plan for it and not need it.
Sometimes she works more than that.
Yeah, but it equals out when you look at what I've spent versus what I budgeted. It's always lower than what I budget. So there are some times that she works more than 16 hours a week, and there's sometimes she works less. It equals out.
How many weeks do you base the 16 on, 50 or 52?
52.
52, okay, so that's 832 hours.
So I would like to move this to 20,800.
Yeah, 2833 is what it comes up to. 16 hours a week times 52 weeks times 2504. I think that's what you said earlier.
What's the number?
20,800. And I'm not gonna ask for an increase on mine. I'm giggling on that, guys, okay? Mm, um, I'm good with the office supplies. Postage is good. I was gonna say 2,700, but 3,000 is good. Software support. Last year I did, well, so far this year is the 3,805. And I would have to look at the detail to find out exactly why it increased more than what I thought it was going to. Because the previous year it was only 1,354. So instead of bumping it back to 2, I would like to keep it at 3.
Well, it was at 26.
I know, but I'd like to, okay, can we
So,
move it to 3?
Yeah,
We're talking 847?
Correct. BSNA is making major changes
mhm.
and they're increasing their support on the older product, which I have a hard time believing .NET is the older product, but they're pushing their cloud product.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are moving to it, and it would be very beneficial, but it is very expensive. So I can't justify it.
The treasurers and the clerks that I talked to that use the cloud-based service, they wouldn't go back.
Yeah, the thing is,
So-
yeah, the upgrades they've made to it and the fact that I can work from anywhere.
Well, some,
anywhere.
not all of them are happy with it, because I know the East Bay Township clerk, they've had a lot of problems with it, with the cloud. And some others too.
They're a lot bigger though.
Yeah,
They,
right.
they
Yeah, they have
utilize,
to do it,
yeah, they utilize a whole lot more of the features than
Yeah,
what
right?
we do. They have brownfields. They have all kinds of things that Whitewater Township doesn't have. So asking maybe in a year or two, maybe the prices will come down a little bit. I don't know, but not right now. I mean, I got the complete demonstration on it.
Can I
And it's
help you with
impressive.
that last thought?
Sure.
Prices will not come down.
They're not. Technology just keeps going zing, zing, zing.
I don't know.
They probably were.
Is
charged-
that all? And
I'm
so,
not
yeah,
ready
there's the
for it. I don't want-
Peachtree, but the BSNA is in there too.
That's under the support.
Software support.
Yeah, BSNA.
So
is
it's
under
not just Peachtree like has shown there, it's Peachtree and BSNA.
Peachtree is $600 of that. At least that's
Right.
what it used to be.
So
so
if
the
it's
rest
still
is BS.
600,
I don't know, I don't remember. what we
We're
paid the
talking
last
about
time.
847 and we're putting it at 3,000.
yeah, I get that, but is BSNA still $600?
No,
No, it says. see where it
Peachtree
says
is
Peachtree?
600.
I'm sorry, I wrote BSNA next to it with an arrow. Is Peachtree still 600?
Yes,
Okay.
it's 5 something. Yeah. 600 covers it.
Cause you have how many modules of BSNA? You have
3.
3, that's what
We got assessing, tax, and special assessment. Oh, no, 4. We got personal property tax delinquents. We got 4.
But assessing goes under Dawn's account.
It should.
Yeah.
Maybe it didn't. Maybe that's why it's so high.
Yeah, I was gonna look at that.
Meals and lodging is fine, mileage is fine. And I don't really have anything for publisher. We used to do, oh, I remember why that was there. we used to have to,
You left education and training at 1,000.
I did. Can do it, I can do it. Um, God,
The $100, we're.
thank
what
you,
did do?
publishing. We used to have to publish in the newspaper about the deferred. The laws have changed. Now all I have to do is publish it in a newsletter or on my tax bill.
So take the
So-
100 out.
Yeah, we can take the 100 out because I'm not gonna do it. Or we can leave it. We're gonna leave it, Heidi.
Why not, right?
Yeah.
If $100 is an issue in the budget,
But that's it.
so that new
I'm
number
good.
then is 65909. And just out of curiosity, and office supply and expenses, new computer?
No,
Okay.
well, deputy treasurer got a new computer 2 years ago. This is new this year. The only other thing I could think of would be my desktop, but that's fairly new also, so.
I really think that we need to look at the BSNA switch. The fact that we can use it online, the same with a lot of the Microsoft products. Adobe even has an online now. It gets rid of the need of our server. Like,
Could we put a pin in it and I'll contact them and get a good price quote on it and I can bring it back on what it would cost to upgrade us to the cloud. Is that acceptable?
absolutely. And then would you include the clerk's office on that?
We don't have BSNA.
Like I
It's
said,
very expensive.
would you include the clerks on that? Because it would be nice if the two of you could just, share your.
Oh, you're talking about
Yeah.
from fund balance to BSNA's program?
Absolutely.
That's a huge
That's very
undertaking.
huge.
That's not just a software change. That's,
Yeah.
Yes, it is. That's what it is. And one imports into the other.
no, I understand.
Yep.
The
Well,
concept.
already, the only thing, we have to manually input is cash receipts, so that's, the only thing we would gain.
You want it on assessing also or just tax?
So Dawn already uses it. And Dawn already updates your computer. I don't understand your question.
Manually, she sends me a file and I import it in to update my assessing program.
Yep. And so we would still have to do that. You would have to import her data even on the cloud version. Unless she used our license for the software, which I don't think Dawn's gonna want to do.
You know what, I'll
See
make
my
that part of
point?
yeah, but you know what, I'll make that part of my conversation. I will clarify with her how that is gonna work.
Did I make my point though? Because Dawn already uses it and she's gonna use it in every township and that's
She has
hers.
her own license.
She has her own license. And so I don't think she's gonna want to come to Whitewater, log in under Whitewater's license to do Whitewater work. I think she's still gonna want to give you the export file, which is fine. It works. Township Hall and Grounds.
Were you thinking of moving this expense over to the park?
What's the question?
You said this is hall, is this inside and outside, or is it just outside?
What's the question?
This says Township Hall and Grounds.
Yep. So that's this property right here.
Okay. So is that your cleaning, sir? What's the $8,000 for?
Oh, so under note 10. We've talked about a handyman. Long time, and I'm saying that if we have handyman functions. Maybe we can sub that out to a fire department personnel. Or a park ranger, fire chief has done a lot of work at the park and this building. Maybe there's someone in the staff that can take his place. So it's just a number.
Well. What, 3 years ago? We put together a job description for handyman.
5,
It's been 5?
May of twenty
I
nineteen.
mean, the thought we had back then, if I'm remembering right, is by hiring an actual handyman. It wouldn't be just to do maintenance on the building, but it would be doing lawn care. It'd be doing plowing. We'd put a building up to house all this equipment and. We'd have a steady employee that did that.
Yep.
Kind of like what Acme does.
Yep.
And I don't know what happened to our good intentions, but
You couldn't agree.
You'll see later on that in the park budget, that's kind of where I parked all of that equipment.
That's what I
and
thought
the
you were
funding,
doing, so.
Right, and so, I honestly think that the maintenance guy could be the lawnmower and so on and so forth, and maybe that's one of our current park rangers. Mike does a good job.
But if it's a park ranger, wouldn't he be working under Township Hall and Grounds, not park? Because technically, if he's
That's
doing
what,
that job,
that's why
he's
he's got
not,
$8,000 in.
okay, but. I'm saying I don't necessarily see putting it in the park fund. It needs to go into areas that is
No,
actually
it-
gonna be utilized.
Well, he
That's
did-
why
that-
these
that's why-
wages are in
That's
here.
why
That's why it's $8,000.
Because if the work is being done here, this is for an employee, this isn't for an independent contractor. We don't
Yes,
pay
it
them.
is. It could,
No, we don't pay independent contractors under
Oh,
wages.
man, it could be.
okay, here we go again, right? This
That's only
is.
for employees.
This is not a policy discussion. This is a budget discussion, okay? And so in a budget discussion, you set money aside. And so, okay, wages. In our current budget, Cheryl, in our current budget document, there is no other place to put this number.
Nope, there's
So
not.
just because there's $8,000 under 703 does not mean I'm looking to hire an employee.
Except that if you pay somebody under 703 or any wage line item, you're taking taxes out. You don't take taxes out of independent contractors. They're paid through accounts payable and get a 1099.
I
So,
understand that, but
okay.
where in this line item does that take place?
It doesn't.
In the block of accounts there.
Yeah,
Yeah, this 703 is for
No.
an employee.
No. but
And
I'm
so-
saying township-
930, you can pay an independent contractor.
and so if you look at note number 10, what does note number 10 say?
I already looked at it.
Handyman.
What does
can
it
be
say?
part of Township Hall, possible fire department personnel or park manager.
Correct,
But you-
as an employee.
Okay, if okay,
Okay,
let me
we
make
agree.
this real simple. I'll make
But
this real
That's all
simple.
I'm pointing out.
But it
That if you
doesn't
pay them
mean-
under 703, they are an employee.
But it doesn't mean it has to be left. All of that money doesn't have to be left in
It could
703
be moved to a in contract.
if we decide to later on during policy discussions, if we decide to hire an independent contractor, we
It
can move
shifts.
that fund.
Agreed,
Okay,
Okay, keep going.
agreed.
perfect.
There's
Perfect.
no problem
Go.
with that. I'm just telling you that if it's 703, get paid under 703, it's gonna be an employee.
And
And if you wanna add an 804 to this for professional services, that's probably where they would get paid out of if it's an independent contractor.
if we
You can move
decide,
the money.
if we decide
No big
at,
deal.
at some future time to do that, I think that is the appropriate method. But for right now, if it is a fire department person or a park ranger, we've calculated the social security as well as the Medicare.
Got it. Oh, I totally agree with that. That's for employees.
So somewhere in our earlier discussion, we took issue with putting some professional services. And I believe that was under. Township board. So we took engineering dollars out of township board. We thought we were going to potentially move him to township hall and grounds.
Yes, then that was the professional services, 804 that we would, for the engineering.
Yep, and there's no 804 here.
No, we discussed that we would have to add that line. item.
Okay. So.
And I think that's back to where we're looking at the scope of work, engineering services, drawings.
Yeah, I have. You know, our last engineering services with F&P, I think was like 50K. I certainly don't want to spend that on this building. At least for engineering drawings, but I have no idea what prices will come in at.
Well, they're gonna be, when you do mechanical drawings are typically more, or slightly more, like slightly more expensive because the detail is.
Right.
Is much more. Is greater. So, yeah, if you were gonna, if you had a general civil, that you were spending 5 to 6 on, you're gonna pay a premium for mechanicals. So it's not unreasonable to expect that could be as much as 8 or 9, depending on, but it's a range. If it's a small project, you're not gonna get away from with less than, 3,500 or 4. But if it's complex, you're gonna spend 10 or 12.
Yep.
So, you could split the baby and say maybe 8,000, but it's just a wag.
I think that's good. It's
What do
a
you
start.
think, 8? I was gonna go 10, but if you wanna go 8. Because
So
that's
add
3
804
little
for
projects.
8,000? Is
That's
that what I heard you say?
We're gonna add 804. What we're deciding is the amount.
Yeah.
So
Do you think 8's enough? Cause Don, that's 2.5 projects, 2.5 small
I mean, if you're
projects.
talking about the heat and the air conditioning, you're probably 10, Heidi, because it's gonna be
Easy.
much more detailed.
Easy, cause that gets into detail, then you got more permit fees and all that other stuff.
Well, here's how I see a potential HVAC project. We have an engineer suggest some things. We'll say forced air, or we'll say, some type of fluid transfer, either heat pump or something like that, okay? And so, when the board understands a potential engineer's cost estimate for the 2 differential pathways forward, that's when I think we'll get into the detailed drawings. For example, you'll need ductwork.
Yeah.
Drawings and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
But for a mini split, for example, if that's the way we decide to go, that's really no ductwork.
Yeah, true.
And so it's a much simpler installation method. So I'm comfortable with the 8K. That's where I was going with that. Because I don't think we've made a decision
Right.
if we want a boiler heat or if we want forced air and air conditioning, or if we want to use, maybe we'll use nuclear.
I mean, I hope it comes in less, but eight's,
There's no room for boiler, right? Although the boiler units aren't quite small
Oh,
these
yeah,
days.
yeah, they're
They just
very,
hang on the wall.
Yeah.
They're super
I
small.
mean, efficiency wise, they're great. Especially with natural gas.
And the boilers don't last too long either. They have about an 8-year life expectancy.
all right, let's put 8 in.
yeah, I'm fine with 8 because I don't know any better yet.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to go to 10, but 8's good.
What do we want to do about waste removal? You think we're good there? Or do we need to bump that up $100?
How much was? How much? How much was GFO going up?
So we're at like almost $33 a month now.
No, it was 23. I might be wrong. on
I just got a bill from them and it's 9702, I think.
Or
for
residential.
Residential,
that.
what,
We
I
don't
don't know.
pay by the
Here.
quarter. I don't know if that's by the quarter. We don't pay by the quarter. We pay per month. I think it's 23 something. It's on your revenue
Well,
and
banks
expenditure
just-
reports.
Wet bags just went up too, so. They have to up us. We're corporate. He comes a lot. So that's on your expenditure report?
Well, yeah, it's all detailed out on the revenue and expenditure reports.
Anybody got a forecast?
I mean, 36 would be $30 a month. If it's 33, that's, if we're currently paying 23, that's, like 30% increase, and I don't know that, I think 360 is probably a ballpark, good number in my mind
Okay.
at this point.
We're not gonna go over that for this year.
What was your takeaway from note 11, Heidi?
It's internet. That's number 11.
Mhm. I have a misspelling in there.
All I know on internet is. It's expensive and they raise it constantly. So. That's all I got for you.
So the point I was trying to draw out is that NetLink Services now will be a contractor for us. And so if we have an issue with the email of any kind, they're a for-profit company. So I think we need to put some money in there for those maintenance items that come up. Not only just the email hosting, but I'm sure there's going to be changes. For
Well, we
example,
just paid the first email hosting bill. I think that was, what was that, 240 with
That-
some dollars?
probably 250.
NetLink's charges by the hour, not by the project, correct? For
Yeah.
that type of service. What's the hourly rate?
It's 130.
So if, for example, we get, there's already question at the park whether or not we should have another email out there. especially if reservations get turned on April 1st. How does that affect communication at the park, so on and so forth? So all of those changes will incur fees.
You, on a, if it was just 5 hours a month on average,
Mhm.
at $130 in 12 months, that's $7,800.
Yeah,
I mean, that number just sneaks up on you.
It does, it
Yeah.
gets higher and higher.
so
And do I think that 5 hours a month on average for the course of the year? I'm worried that's low.
So am I.
But I'm thinking it's not, you may be 0 1 month and 10 the next, but I'm not sure that $7,800 is probably the right number to. But
And then, is that including the email?
yeah,
no,
no.
He hasn't
Okay.
even touched that yet.
500 on top of that for the email services. So, I think.
Well, no, it'd be closer to 3,000 if it's $250 a month. That's 3,000 a year. For the email boxes. I believe 250 times 12, isn't that 3,000?
Where are you
Yeah.
getting the 250 from?
Yeah.
Well, I just said we just paid the first bill and it was 240 something, I think.
That's for. I
Email
think-
boxes. The email boxes. We just paid it.
So it should be $5 a month times 41 or 43, right?
Yeah, that's
$240.
240 some dollars.
I was thinking that was DNS server
No,
fees. Okay,
No, 240.
Okay.
So to your point, it's $3,000.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
so that number should probably be 10 grand.
Yep.
Yeah.
You really think that's enough? I wrote 12 with a question mark.
So, okay, while we're on this item. Seeing how this cost is ballooning beyond all of our calculations. I don't know that that's a good value. And I know we're way far down the road on the .gov thing, I get it, but 10 grand a year.
Well,
Just
it's
for
three-
emails.
It's
No.
$3,000 for the boxes. That's what it is. And Don, you're calculating that there's gonna be 5 hours a month of support needed. And, I don't know if there will be or not. But, it is what it is. It is what it is.
But it's not a necessity to make that jump.
What do you
Well,
actually-
we just got the email about scheduling
I
the
know,
on-site work.
I know,
I think yesterday or something. I
I
haven't
know,
read it yet.
and,
but-
and we would obviously owe them some money, but this is gonna be an ongoing fee. And,
Are you benefiting from anything from doing this?
The reason we were moving, wasn't it because the security was one thing. The other thing is our emails are bouncing back.
so,
I'm still getting some of it, but not anywhere near the amount I used to get. I mean, if I send out a lot of tax receipts and tax bills via email, and this stuff is coming back at me, and it shouldn't. It shouldn't, never has. The email's a good email address. I can go to Gmail and send that exact same document and it goes through, but it's not going through off in my .org. So I think that was the reason we were moving to the .gov, is it not?
well, we had several problems. Most of our problems were resolved when we moved server farms, right? So now Kelly can see why that email bounced back. Before, he had to wait for somebody to get back with him and provide the data. Who knows? So,
There were blocks of IP addresses that we got caught up in, that got blocked.
yeah,
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think the .gov is a lot more secure, lot more professional, and I mean, we're so far down the road on it now that
But
I
are
don't
you?
see
Because if it's a
turning
ten
back.
$1,000 expense, it just
But-
keeps going up.
No, that's.
But we don't
no,
know
no,
for sure it's gonna be that because we're factoring in
Support.
support. We don't know that's gonna be needed.
I know it's just minor thousands
And
of dollars, but
also,
it's
now,
add
when we
here.
do the .gov, who is hosting that?
It's,
Who hosts that?
Not like,
no, it's a different server, right? Because remember, that was the first hurdle we had to overcome. GoDaddy is who was servicing our account. They couldn't handle the .gov, so NetLink had to go find another hosting firm to do that, and it is called, bear with me.
Cause we're gonna get a hosting fee from them too.
No, we already paid it. We had to pay it before we could,
I was gonna
we
say, I
could
thought we
even
already
get it
paid that.
started.
Oh, so apparently that's the annual fee,
Yeah,
right? But so there's a cost. That's what I'm getting at.
yeah, it's $250. That's why I thought,
A year,
mhm.
this year.
Thought I could come up with the name of the company, but I can't.
I'd have to go back and look at notes.
Yeah. DNSmadeeasy.com.
That sounds familiar.
And it looks like we were invoiced on about August 18th or thereabouts of 2023. So that's when NetLinks found this company and that could handle .gov domains.
Well, we're on GoDaddy right now, but
Correct.
that's our DNS.
Yeah.
We were on Name Secure.
And that's the one I think we had problems with.
Well, they just don't have, they're not very responsive.
Mhm.
We never had any problems with their hosting of .org, .net and .com. They're just hard to reach.
So electricity, so we're at $10,000 there. I guess we're gonna move forward. Is that the consensus of the board? I'm against it at this point. But I understand Cheryl's point.
You mean internet, not electricity?
Yes, I'm sorry, I thought I said internet.
Anyway, so electricity.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I do understand Cheryl's point about being a little more professional than at gmail.com. I do get that,
Yeah.
but
Things are only going to get more complicated over time and not easier, and a patchwork that we have today is not it's really not good to leave as a legacy.
sure,
That's my argument for it.
I'm good.
so 10,000 under 851.
Electricity. We just got a notice that we're going up. Oh, let's see, we're on consumers here.
Are you Cherryland at home?
Yeah.
Yep.
I was gonna say, I didn't get that notice.
You didn't get did you get the
From
notice your
consumers.
power's going out this morning from 9 to 1?
Are you Cherryland?
I'm Cherry Lane, yes.
Okay.
So,
Cherry Lane goes to the end of my street.
I'm consumers.
I'm
I mean,
concerned.
last year, I guess it's just, I know that obviously we're 50, the number shows 1532. Last year was almost 3,000.
mhm.
Let's just assume the bills catch up and it's gonna be all 3,000.
Yeah.
And we know there's gonna be an increase. I think you ought to bump that to 3,500 or 3,800.
Let's do 35.
Okay,
Is it,
Well, you can lower that electric heat one because, you know, you've eliminated some square footage.
yeah, but aren't there,
Oh, wait a minute, that
portables?
little space
Aren't there
heater,
space heaters?
but it's not running all the time. Okay.
so here's a
Make sure
good,
you unplug it. That's all I'm asking.
here's a good comparison. So again, the mini splits that I use have a 4-to-1 return ratio, okay? So in the previous year column, you can see we spent about $3,700 worth of electricity to heat the building, right? So if engineering principles are the same, we should be able to reduce that by 75% using the heat pumps. So that 4,000 would go to 1,000.
Even if you reduce it by 50, between 50 to 75. it's
Yeah.
Well, that's not gonna affect us till next winter.
Correct.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think we just
If
leave it
then.
at 4,000. Yeah,
Yeah,
leave it at 4,000.
agreed, but it's just the,
If we don't spend it, we don't spend it.
but that,
You adjust it at the next budget.
I think the point is though, to keep in mind that that reduction in expenses should figure into any return on capital
Right.
employed on that, because there is a.
Yeah.
In that, the cost of the project is, you know, the expense has to be offset by the reduction in utility. So it makes them. So.
What are we doing for telephone?
Looks adequate.
Changes.
Is that the phones, is that all your phones or is that just your phones in the office?
That's just landlines.
So that's an interesting question. Should we move into the wireless age?
I'm not a fan, so don't look at me.
You talking about voice
Although you
over internet protocol?
No,
That's
that's
what
what
we
we're
have
at
right
right
now.
now.
Yeah,
I was thinking cell phones.
no. We're not gonna operate off a cell phone.
Bluetooth technology. It's handy.
You'd have to change all your methods on how you work.
All your methods on what, Heidi?
Well, use a phone and then use a cell phone and then do your work all day long with a cell phone and a table phone and let me know which one you want to use. You use both all day long. Which one do you like using better?
Cell phone, no doubt.
I'm not in an office anymore, so
Okay.
as long as it's
Just a
speaker, I'm
thought.
good.
Hey, you know what? It's a thought for a different day.
How much difference in cost would it be? It might be a considerable savings because you get how old your phone lines.
Well, we still have to have a fax line coming in here, so we still have to have the service. People do
Actually-
use fax, and people do fax out of here too.
Actually, faxes are now all computer based. And they would prefer to work off the internet.
Fax is way more secure than the internet.
Yeah, we need to be able to plug into a landline for the postage machine though.
Yep,
That's why I'm saying, think of everything that goes off that phone line.
So this line item then changes to 53,922.
I need the 922 or, oh yeah, 922.
Go back
No,
to, hold on.
If the change is 13,500. No, never mind, totally. Never
You all
mind,
right now?
disregard that.
Okay.
Moving on.
Yes,
You all right now?
I rescind anything I.
Okay,
And that is what the two changes are, right? 13.5.
Yes. But I did make the differentials, never mind, just move on.
where was,
Okay.
okay, so you had 10, 8. You changed 5 to 10. You added a new line item, and then did you have $500 somewhere else?
Oh, yeah, that's right. There was an 8,000 added too.
Mhm.
So the changes are 21.5.
No, there isn't.
Yeah, because we added 804 at 8,000. Well, I'm sorry, that's a $5,000 change and yeah, I'm sorry. 5,500 and 8,000 is 13.5 change. Cause the one line item changed by 5,000, one changed by 500, and then we added one for 8,000.
Yeah. Right.
So that's 13.5 added to 4,222.
That's not gonna
No.
be the number I come up with.
No, because it's only a $5,000 different, well, yeah, 13,500. Yeah, that's why I said, I thought, I had thought of this 55,722. I'm just wondering where I'm off a little bit here.
He said 53,922.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know, and I'm suggesting it's 53,722. I'm just. But. like I said,
All right, wait, go over the changes again, because I think I'm missing one. So
Okay,
8,000 for 804.
no,
That's the end, that's professional
It's
services. you added.
55,722 is what it went to. Because we added 804, a brand new line item, and we put 8,000 in there.
mhm,
And then 851 increased by 5,000
correct,
Went to
and
10.
922 increased by 500.
right.
Okay, that's what I got.
So that's a 13.5 increase over 42,222, which comes to 55,722 per my calculator.
That's when I started to speak, and then I figured my math was wrong.
Yeah.
so, I made an error in adding 804 here. I just put 8,000 under janitorial services, but I didn't account for the original 1,800 that was there.
That's
Mhm.
what you're
So
missing.
that was the difference. So it should be 56,722.
What did
No,
change on
I'm sorry,
janitorial? We didn't
55.
discuss that.
55,722.
No, we're still 55.
55,722.
Nothing's changed.
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
Just.
I see I made a mistake under cemetery as well, and that is cemetery sexton 808. I did not mean to drop it to 1,000. That must have, that's clearly an error there.
So it should be 3.
Yeah. And so unless there are other observations there, that new line item number should be 34,538.
Well, if you keep boosting electricity all over, are you bringing everybody up or are you leaving everybody the way they are? Cause he's got 500, you went 500, 500.
Well, that's a good
371,
question,
back to
Heidi.
500.
That's a good question.
I mean, I know it's probably peanuts, but
You want to go 600 on that line item? Is that what you're thinking?
no clue, because if they upgrade another grid, you're gonna be paying for it.
I think 500 is more than adequate.
Well, we used 371 through the end of January.
Make it 600.
Okay, I like that idea, Ardella. So that's 34,638.
No, the question I have is on 930. I mean, the prior year, we budgeted 40,000. Clearly, we had some reason that we
That
thought it
wasn't
was
that
going to
trees?
be.
We did, and we were gonna try and do some tree work or something like that, if I remember correctly. We didn't get there.
But the tree work is still needed, and you can see that in the prior year, we spent 21,453 total, which was over at the other cemetery. And we had all the dead wood taken out and 2 trees came out, and there's a lot of dead wood down at Circle Hill. It's quite dangerous, actually. Some of those limbs might come down on people. If some of them come down on monuments, they're gonna destroy them. I don't know if we have to replace monuments if they get destroyed.
And you don't think for the
It's your tree, you
25,000
do.
that the 25,000 is not gonna cut it?
Well, I don't know why we would go down from the 40, the work didn't get done. And I can't imagine it's gonna be any less expensive this year.
Well, because you might be able to send your handyman over there.
No, this is work that requires a bucket. And ropes and
Okay.
trained people. To lower large branches down to the ground, sections of large branches. It's a major operation.
Yeah, I get that, but
Yeah.
at this point, when do you?
Major
when do you just
operation.
Remove the trees.
It's expensive to have those professionals come in and
Yeah.
do the job. So what were you thinking, the reason you put it?
Yeah, what's your 25 grand?
So I just took a real life look at, or a realistic look at what
What,
our
it's-
previous year was, and if it's so dangerous, why we only spend $88 on it.
Well,
No. No, I'm talking
That's-
about prior year actual.
Was
It's
21,453.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Well, but
And-
we haven't, no contractor has been hired to go out there and
That's why
come
I
up
did
with an
it.
estimate.
The simple,
Transport didn't do it.
the simple truth of the matter is we budgeted for it come April first. I don't recall one conversation from April first of 2023.
Well, somebody's gotta call a contractor.
I get it,
them out
Cheryl.
there.
I'm just saying it
I-
completely fell through.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's
Nobody touched
exactly-
it.
That's
The
exactly
section
what
is-
happened.
Now, that doesn't, to
Complaining.
your point, doesn't mean that the work still doesn't need to be done.
That's right.
It's a question is if we're gonna budget it for 40,000, well then.
Where's the plan?
somebody-
Where's the
somebody
plan?
Needs to take the point on it. So, but
So do we
otherwise.
leave it at 40?
Well, typically you would have a building
I'm
and
good
grounds
with
or
going back.
facilities person contact
Well, how about
a tree
this one?
company and.
Maybe at this point, since it's costing 25 grand a year, 20 grand a year in trees, basically. That's not grass cutting, that's just trees, right?
Well, that was a one time. We haven't done that.
That
We've
was
only
at
done the one
Rapid
that
City.
once at
The
Williamsburg,
Rapid
Cedar
River.
Rapids.
Yeah, Cedar, they're so stupid.
Well, that's because
The name
it
of it is
started out
stupid.
as, well, that's because it started out as Cedar Rapids burying ground.
I put it at 40, get the.
Let's go to 40.
I'd like to make a suggestion that maybe you remove some of the trees out of the cemetery because, the last 4 cemeteries I visited, the trees are gone.
Yeah, and had that.
Yeah, they
I'll
don't
tell you, we
plant
had-
big
that's
trees
exactly
in
the
cemeteries
conversation.
anymore.
Yeah, the whole recommended action
Yeah.
is don't put trees in, and if you got, get them out as fast as you can in terms of ongoing maintenance.
Well, yeah,
A
because
couple-
the maintenance and the possibility of somebody getting struck by it when they're there.
3 or 4 years ago, we had Lawn and Order do the low to the ground stuff. And some sprouting maple trees were taken out. Because sprouting maple trees become big maple trees and cause all kinds of issues. And the bushes were all trimmed and they needed again, actually, the bushes over there need trimming again.
Okay,
And,
that's
but
a
the
function.
big
You
work
don't need a
is
truck for.
the trees, the big work that needs to be done over there. It hasn't been done.
So
I don't know.
Total 49.
49,638. So, um. I'm looking back at the,
Budget we submitted to you on 1/15/2024 for PC.
actually, it was the budget that was in the township board packet in February.
Okay.
It looks like 702 salaries. I'm a little above what was proposed then. 16 versus 18.
We were at 22 as an estimate. 12 regular, 6 special, 4 joint.
The budget that was given to me in our board packet says $16,000.
I'm looking at.
What board packet was that?
Did you say
Two-
February?
213, it was listed under correspondence number 7.
Mhm.
This is what you worked off, something like that looks like this. I want to make sure I got the same paper.
Yep.
Yeah, I see that. 16 as well.
Well, but I just calculated, if everybody's there, it's $750 wages per meeting. And that times 24 meetings is 17,160. So the 18's in the ballpark.
Okay.
The recording secretary wages are totally inadequate. Because that includes getting the agenda out
So
and
we need to talk about that. I think. You know, we talk about all of our tracking ability in the fire department. A recording secretary does not do any of those things.
recording secretary does do those things.
No,
Yeah, the
No, only
recording
here.
secretary gets it out.
only here.
She has time to do that. She distributes it to everybody.
She does. send it.
And then they routinely go past 9 o'clock. So you've got the, what is it, 50 some dollars an hour, whatever that was. You've got that times 3 hours for every meeting.
So
Um,
I'm totally uncomfortable with this line. First of all, planning commission does not approve these wages. They're just automatically submitted. And they're rubber stamped.
it's 53. It's 53.
And so clearly in this submittal from the planning commission, they're only recommending 4,000.
Well, and so you have to remember that in this current fiscal year, the planning commission established at least 2 committees. And they had to have subcommittees, and they have to have recording secretaries. There was the special subcommittee, then there was the
We're
resident.
aware of that, right?
Okay, but I'm
So
just
we're
saying
just
that,
going
that's
off
why
of
the
what
budget
planning
had to be
commission Is
amended.
recommended. So I
Yeah.
could potentially be talked into moving that up to 4,000, but any higher than that. And I think that the secretarial labor needs to be broken out of the recording secretaries. So I think another line item needs to be made. We
For
have to
the
be able to
recording
track.
You
secretary.
mean for
Well, it's tracked on the
clarification,
timesheets.
for clarification of what we're actually paying wages for is what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, because somebody looks at this and says a recording secretary for $3,500. Wow. But
I don't, that's nothing,
Well, it depends on,
it's nothing.
It depends,
it
yes, it
depends on
is.
if they, no, Heidi. And I'm not gonna advocate devaluing somebody's work that they do for this
I'm
township.
not.
yeah,
I'm just
I'm
saying
not
that
talking
it
about
should-
that, right?
We're not talking
Just
about
so
it,
you
we're
know.
just, we're
Just so
talking
you
about
know.
not putting it,
Someday,
breaking
this
down. the
township
wages.
may be to the point where they actually hire an administrator that takes care of all of these little things we're now breaking down. And by breaking it down, it may seem like we're splitting hairs here, but you'll get a better idea of what you're paying individually for all these services that we're paying individuals to do, where an administrator, office manager type person would actually do. You'll have it all broke down there.
I mean,
So
if-
I'm not objecting to breaking it down.
okay, but I'm just gonna tell you that $53 an hour times 3 hours is $159 per meeting,
Right.
times 24 meeting is $3,672.
Then the planning
So-
commission needs to understand what they're spending,
Well,
and they don't.
well, no, didn't you say they put 4,000 in
They
here,
did.
right? Okay, so
Yep.
we make it 4,000, you know?
But to your point, when they go over, and there's supposed to be a 15-minute leeway.
Well, there is a 15-minute leeway. Lois doesn't get paid the additional hour until it goes past 15
Right.
minutes, but they frequently do that. And also, especially when they have like site plan reviews or special use permits or something like that, those meetings take longer than just discussing the master plan. So I'm telling you that even just allowing 3 hours for those 24 meetings, which I think you have to do, you're allowing the entire wage for the planning commission times 24 meetings, and they're not always there. You know, some people are missing from the planning commission. I don't know what the frequency of it is, but you know, I think what they recommend, 4,000 is a minimum. And you know, if you want to find somebody else to distribute the packet, you know, find somebody else. But if Lois does it, she's gonna get paid $25.04 an hour this year. For her time on that.
Which her time
So-
consists of posting it, making copies.
Yeah, yeah, they
Yep.
just had over here, they just had, and I think Bob helped with some of it, but they just had all those plans and notebooks sitting there, or folders, whatever, and I don't know how much of that Lois does, but I do know that planning commission members, Carl Rubel, Linda Slopsima, Al Keaton, at a minimum, contact Lois, and they want copies
They want
printed
copies.
of
Yeah, somebody
the,
didn't come and pick them up yesterday, so that kind of peeved me.
so, you know, I mean, normally, they get picked up, but, Mike Jacobson, I think, a lot of them get paper copies of their packets, and somebody has to make those copies, and somebody needs to get paid for making those copies for them.
And my point is that the planning commission needs to understand by authorizing that time,
It's
just
gotta
like
be
any
in the
other
budget.
department manager would.
It's gotta be in the budget,
No, Heidi,
okay?
I am speaking about process here.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Well, you're telling me that I need to make sure that when we calculate our budget, that we
No.
put, okay,
What I'm telling you is that the PC chair needs to sign off on whoever submits a time card for this work. So they know what they're expending. They are a department head, they're a chair. They need to know what their budget is.
It's obvious to me, they do know what the budget they need for the next fiscal year, and they're the ones that are in touch with the work that they're going to
Okay.
be doing, and
Good.
And that
Good with
type of thing.
4,000.
I'm good with 4,000
Move on.
also, yeah, exactly.
our office supplies are kind of light. What do we put for that?
2,000 is
Yeah,
what
we
you
put
had put.
2,000.
Well, maybe the reason why they're light is they're not planning on doing as many open houses or outreaches to the public? Is that why? A reduction, Heidi?
Hold on. We won't have but see, we didn't, the open house stuff.
You don't have anywhere near as many subcommittees as you have. I think.
That'll take it down. You're just
Well,
talking
what's
office
it-
supplies, so.
Just out of curiosity, Cheryl, do you know off the top of your head, what's in 727 that accumulated 4,438?
I'm gonna say it was.
Well, they, yeah,
Paper.
signed, they did the survey.
So that's
You
probably,
know.
that's not gonna be happening again, so that's probably why they requested the 2,000.
And I assigned 3, right?
I think we're
That's
splitting
fine.
hairs here, let's just go with the 3.
Good by me.
That's what I'm recommending.
Should have printed this out, flipping back and forth is a pain in the butt.
What are you flipping on?
Their budget that they put in the
Oh, okay,
February board
yeah,
packet.
okay.
What do you think I was flipping?
Well, I wasn't sure because I tried to make this Excel sheet so you didn't have to flip. You know, you can move your tabs so they're right next to one another.
I
Oh,
thought that
that's
was
right.
pretty
just saying,
cool.
I
Or-
should
I
have printed
get it.
this page.
I get it. Yeah, I get it. Any other questions there?
Now, the professional fees of 40,000 that you've recommended, that they've recommended.
That is,
Well, we're still paying Randy.
Right. That's what I'm wondering, is that
Master
mainly
plan
for him?
project, zoning project.
that we have 2 projects going on, master plan and zoning and general ordinances with them. So that's his expense. Is it not? No.
Well, he does have contracts for both of those, and I don't have those right in front of me to know what's left on those projects, I think, or contracts. I think there was a outside number hours.
I don't recall that. I just recall it an hourly.
Under dues and
I haven't read it.
memberships?
Well,
We also, with the professional services for the map guy, would that fall under that?
so looking at
Yeah.
this again,
True.
and I understand the, they put 40 in there too. But look at their notes, their NPP contracts 15. Next one's 10. Next one's 15. Next
The
one's,
zoning map ain't in there, cause
40.
that would be 50.
I've got 50.
That's what
My
I
math
got.
is right. So I mean. See, they put 40 in here, we carried the 40 forward, but the listing here, what am I missing that they've got? 50,000 of.
The
list
zone,
in
the map, because the map, we hadn't made a decision on what to do with the map till this was already submitted.
So, but
So this is really 35.
the
No.
zoning map, that's already coming out of this budget. I think we issued a purchase order for like 3,800, if
15,
I remember correctly,
25,
something.
Well, it's not done though,
yeah, that's only half of it.
so we have to plan for the expense.
25, 35.
But I mean, they've
40,
got
it's
10.
50.
And we know what it's gonna be.
Okay.
I don't know, is that all the
We-
maps are gonna need? I don't
we
know.
See, this is, okay, the map thing, the
See what I'm
reason
getting at.
it's a low.
Yeah.
It's a low is because we didn't know, we hadn't had a quote yet, and we didn't know how detailed it would come back for what they were doing. So we started at 10 and we went backwards.
So if we want to move it to 50, we'll move it to 50 because that's what the math shakes out.
And I can tell you
The
why
only-
there's the
only
difference.
NPP contract I thought we had a limit on was the zoning. And I thought that was like $9,000.
It
Right,
was,
but I think the PO is only 5. I have to look.
It was, that was correct.
Thank you, Cheryl.
It was like 17.
Oh, maybe I printed mine to yours too. I don't know what I did, but mine disappeared. Oh, wow.
I just figured one of them.
See, here it is down here. The
Yeah, I see it.
15
I just thought this 10 was that 10.
Oh, no, it's one's a zoning map and one's a GIS surveying.
Yeah, there ain't gonna be 10 grand in a zoning map.
Oh,
Not
but we
even
don't know
close.
that. Okay, but we don't know that right now, Ron. So we
Yes,
went.
you do.
Oh, okay.
Well, GIS
Well, we-
charges us like $22 an hour.
That's great. Wish you were in the meeting saying that. But when we
Well,
did this, we didn't know what was
Why,
gonna happen.
why all those people don't know that? I know Randy knows it.
Maybe Randy wasn't at the meeting.
I got people that don't even pick up their packets, so
So why should I fund that?
I made a note.
So I think the 10 grand for the zoning map, the new contract, that's,
If that's already, I mean, we paid $3,800 out of it this year, correct?
so,
We paid a bill for 3,800, Cheryl?
no,
I don't think so.
Okay,
no.
so,
Let me clarify.
okay,
Let me clarify. Their notes below this budget has two items, zoning map, GIS surveyor, 10K. We know that number is gonna be 3,800.
correct.
We know that,
Right.
okay? Now, to Cheryl's point, we don't know whether that's a 23-24 expense or whether it's a 24-25 expense. Golden, right?
Yep,
No problem. And the one that I have an issue with is the zoning map, 10K. We know that we hire county GIS people for $23-24 an hour. Our maps are in the neighborhood of $20 to $50.
mhm. So. Worst case scenario, it's half, but it's probably less than that. So 40,000 is more than adequate to cover this. Based on the reality of zoning maps. I mean, $20,000 for zoning maps that probably aren't gonna cost us more than $7,500.
Yeah.
So I'm inclined to leave the 40 then.
Oh, look, I did.
So did I.
Now they went from 750 on dues and memberships and you have 250. Do you think it was just a typo there or?
Dues and memberships, huh? I have it at
250.
250.
They've got 725 requested.
Oh,
725, not 750, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not gonna pay for the planning commission to join American Institute of Planning. And that's what they're proposing. If
It's a
anything,
tool.
those people need to be better trained in their job, not brainwashed by American Institute of Planning. And those are some strong words, but
Well, I don't know exactly, but and I'm not saying we should fund it, but I'm saying more than likely they have some kind of written resources or something that would be available
That
to
they'd be
them.
able to- just
And,
like
or
us with
maybe
MTA.
available to Randy as their planner, since he's really retired. And,
Heidi,
you know,
you're in on that conversation. What benefit is that membership they're wanting to subscribe to?
You have to remember that your planner does an awful lot more than just planning. He's on 3 different projects right now. And the discussion was, everything he gives us training stuff every month, every couple of weeks, we get emails. We felt that it would help us. We take any resource we can get that's gonna make us more knowledgeable. But
Is it a resource for reference? Like if you're looking up a particular thing, let's say you
I
have
have to get
something.
you a better description of that, cause I don't have my notes here on that.
well, and I do see on their thing, they wanted in a map, Michigan Association of Planning, membership, and that gets you these planning magazines or something like that. The
Oh,
township
you know
used
what
to
it
get them a
means?
long
It-
time
It
ago.
also, you know what, you get that's right, Cheryl, you get the planning magazine, you
Yeah,
get all the zoning magazines that the zoning, it gives you more resources to do your job.
If I'm remembering right, all the new legislation and stuff that comes out that affects zoning and planning is in those
Yeah.
publications.
Yep,
Um,
cause Bob usually ends up making copies of them, so you're paying for copy paper anyways, probably. They're pretty long too, I think I have one somewhere. Not conforming.
it's kind of like when we use the MTA educational stuff, but this is for planning. I know, Ron, it's $500.
But it's to join, but I'm on their website right now, so you want the books, they're discounted, the books are anywhere from $25 to $50. The webinars are not free either.
Fee-based.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, a group membership is $725. That's where they're coming up. I'm on their
Right.
website too.
yeah, and
And a
so,
group membership is 725 and a year.
but everything's then still plus.
Well, yeah, I think you get this magazine for free, the e-edition of it. I think is included in that, which I think is mainly what they want to get.
Yep,
Right, with the legislative updates and articles and, planning related
cause the
articles.
question came up, where's everything sitting? Like
See?
short-term rentals, everything else, and they were like, where do we find it? So then I've just been sending them.
I do agree
I
that,
did.
that they probably should have a subscription to that. I really do. I do think they need to be keeping up with, what the new things are.
we're asking them all to do the
that just-
citizen planner. Right? And when I took my citizen planner, I did it at a MAP convention. I went to their convention. It was a 3-day thing. I got all kinds of training on planning and zoning in the classes, but I also took all the classes for the citizen planner.
And now the group rate at $725.
Does it give you a
Um,
discount?
It gives you actually 12 membership spots. It's designed for municipal planning commissions and elected bodies.
Well, the last free webinar, the last free educational session that was put on at East Bay Township by John Michelangeli himself.
Well, but they can't all go
Myself
to,
and Carl went.
they
Nobody
can't,
else even responded.
they all have different schedules, different lives. They can't all commit to some local training just because it's free. To me, and this 725 actually allows 12 members. And so that would mean the board could also be members too. So, I don't see the harm in that, actually. And I think that
and
they get their information, I have a lot of educational opportunities come to me weekly, and I'm not able to take advantage of many of them because of time constraints, but, I agree with bumping their memberships to $725. I would agree with that. I think it would be beneficial for the existing planning commission members, and then we're gonna have new planning commission members. And where do they get their information, you can't just absorb it at a meeting, they need to have their
The new
independent.
members get it through the training and education line.
And these e-editions
okay.
are one source of, no one ever just has one source of education.
All right, then move the 725 down into education and training.
No, I mean, if the board thinks they want to do that, that's fine.
I do. I do.
I
don't
like
see
the
any
fact
harm
that it's
in
12
giving them-
members.
Hang on a
and-
second, Heidi. I don't see anything wrong spending an extra $500 to give them the opportunity
Mhm.
to, absorb this information that's gonna come from this membership. This strictly for planning and zoning.
Well, and their software support for 250 and their mileage, and I'm sorry, and their meal lodging expense is 0. So, I mean, that means they don't, the meal lodging, they don't go to things out of town. So we're saving money there that they don't go to out of town things that, they need mileage and all this type of thing. This seems like this is way more cost effective. And I see the software support, that 160 is going to 0. I don't know what software they have, or I don't remember what it is right now.
Well, they've never used anything. We gave them 160 last year's budget, and I don't know why. There must have been something that was being requested that didn't happen.
Anyways, can we move on from there?
If there's no other,
Although they have asked for the 160, but they haven't used it. So they haven't used the mileage reimbursement either, but
Well,
some
that
money
you
was put
can't-
in for that.
But here's the thing, you can't say we didn't use it just because nobody chose.
Oh,
to
no,
go
I agreed.
and
I just,
put it in.
if you'd let me finish, Heidi, the 250 was is in there for mileage reimbursement. So they can submit their mileage expense sheets and get reimbursed.
unless there's any other changes, that line item comes to 75, 158.
Well, they did ask for 3,000 under publishing and printing. So what do they expect for that, Heidi?
That's master plan
Did you
stuff.
move that to 750?
725. I think.
725.
Okay, thanks.
So what is education and training, they're getting what they asked for, but publishing and
Printing
printing.
is revisions to the zoning ordinances and master plan.
I mean, publishing for 2,000, what Ron has in there would seem to be adequate based on prior year actual. And printing, I mean. Again, based on prior year actual, I don't have a problem with the 1,500. I know they asked for more than that, but
Well, because of the master plan and the zoning ordinance project.
well, so you're gonna have printed copies out here for the public or something? I mean,
You have to have a printed copy.
well, I know you can have a
Okay.
few out here, but most people will read it online.
But that would actually be an office expense line item if we're talking about our printer. Printing 902, I think
That's-
contemplates the professional type people. Wouldn't you agree?
I would think so. I don't think it would be the,
Well, they
Yeah.
had some of that
I don't
done in this fiscal year, I think, to have to do.
so
with that
they're
stuff.
wanting 3,000 for printing and we've got 1,500. Why don't we make it 2,000 and call it good?
I'm good with that.
You left it at 2?
Changed it to 2 from
Went from
15.
1,500 to 2.
902 printing.
Oh, okay, that was one behind.
And so the 901 publishing, they're requesting 3,000 and we're at 2. What are we doing?
I was plan leaving it.
Leaving
I
it at
was
2?
Can always come back and ask if we need it.
Right.
We were trying to eliminate having to keep coming back
Oh,
up.
The previous year, we're at 1,200. This year, we're at 268.
I don't see how you can 3,000.
I think they were probably anticipating,
Master plan and this is for revisions to the zoning ordinances
not just master plan.
and master plan. And that's the printing that.
But I
came
think
up
we
with.
have, honestly, I think we have enough extra built into this budget that if they do go over that 2,000, that we are still covered.
Yeah, because we got the two.
What's the new total?
75, 658. Under zoning and minutes, so we're gonna approach our 12 o'clock hour.
Could we just,
Can we finish general fund today?
I don't know.
Oh, I think we should.
I'd like to try to. Unless you.
I have a.
We've only got
Second.
two other budget work sessions to get through everything else, so I think we should finish the general fund. I don't think there's that much of it left to do, quite
I
frankly.
agree.
I agree, Cheryl.
Yeah, I mean,
Based on my printing, 2.5 more pages.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's right.
So. Bathroom break, anybody?
I could use one.
Let's just take,
Yeah, how about,
can we just do 15?
15 minutes?
To take.
How about 10? We'll meet back here at noon.
Okay.
works.
So 11:50 recess, meet back here at noon.
I'm under a new experiment. I enjoy coffee. But I enjoy it with the creamer.
Oh.
So I'm trying to drink it without creamer now.
Do you put sugar in your coffee?
No,
Well, the creamer doesn't have much sugar. Did you ever look?
okay, I like the flavored creamer.
Oh, you're screwed.
I like my treats.
No, well, then just
Okay.
go to the.
But
why don't
I'm
you just-
trying to turn over a new leaf. So for the last, all this week, I've
No,
drank
doesn't work. I already
black
tried it.
coffee and it's,
You know what? The only way that works, the black coffee works, is if you go to Menards and buy their black coffee. That's the only black coffee I've ever been able to drink without cream. But see, why don't you try the powdered stuff that has minimal everything in it and see if that works? Cause that's what I use when I need really bad cream and I don't have any, but
the older I get, the more dairy has an adverse effect on me. So eliminating the creamer stuff has actually been beneficial for me.
okay, but then go to the powdered.
Yeah, I
it's
don't like that
different.
powder stuff. It's got like this aftertaste stuff. I like it.
Yeah,
I'm just bound determined. I'm gonna get used to it. Cause I used to get teased that I liked a little coffee with my creamer.
Mhm. I'm trying to give it up 100%.
I coffee altogether.
That one was full and if you haven't noticed, I might be.
Oh, it affects you that way, huh? See, I'm the kind of person that can drink coffee all day long and all night and it doesn't affect my sleep. I am so fortunate.
That's insane.
No, when I go out, I'm.
Ron, do you have a Zoom link? I'm getting a question for a Zoom link. Do you have a Zoom link?
Oh. I have to normally cut off by 10 latest. Cause it'll affect me right through.
Can I take a picture of it and send
I
it?
don't
to
know
this
what it
person?
is, but it's never affected me.
I can't
Not to say it's not
access
gonna
it
someday.
once the meeting is started. And I didn't copy it. I just started the meeting. It's not my responsibility to post it.
We're so trained. We'll just keep getting people sick and shit.
Do you want me to put it in there for you?
No. They don't want, he don't want to do this.
You went outside looking for it and walked right by it?
Cause usually I put it in my office.
No,
No, I don't have it. I didn't even know if there was one. It wasn't published.
Just. They're going to share with everybody. I gave them your email. Mailing the invoice too.
Okay, but that's it.
Show me how to do it. I don't, you don't have to.
Really? Okay, yeah, sweet. Yeah,
Yes.
that's fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we've taken care of there, he. Got some stuff taken care of and put the old cartridge back in there because that seemed to be doing the best, but he did leave another one and it's in a box there.
Well, okay, good.
And
Yeah.
if it continues to be a problem, he's gonna see what they can do about what's in that facility. And if they can't, then you recommend contacting the client. Because it's about, it's between like third and a half still there, so we should put them in the discount. But he recommends that we order from them because they offer the discount. So that's.
Well,
anyway.
give us all the information. Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, just wanted to fill you in on that.
Thanks, Lois, appreciate that.
Yeah.
Remind me one question for you. Sir? Remind me when you're done. Got a question for you.
Okay.
Supposed to be nice again today.
Yeah, yeah.
Can't remember. Been a long time since I remember this time of year having this many sunny days.
Yeah. Frost laws are supposed to come off next week. So construction is gonna start in earnest.
Yep. Had a guy come out, consumers came out and guy next to us put up a pole barn. And he had, consumers came out to put in a new pole and
upgrade the transformer and stuff. And they just drove and tore up my mother-in-law's septic in the field. Why they came in the way they did, I haven't. But man, with all the warm weather. And, you know, and they had some really heavy equipment.
Mhm.
There's-
Yeah.
But I was talking to, we were, you know, he's just talking about frost laws and. Lake never froze over. Tried to, a couple times. Nope. Didn't even get. Didn't go. over.
Excellent.
Three women are going out crazy tonight. We all work together and we didn't get dinner the other night, so we figured we'd just go out tonight.
Be in the water. Karen was out last night.
Oh, no, it's in the water because my husband's gone. It's in the water tonight. My car, probably. And there was a comment made last night about people not picking up their stuff. Because Carl, I didn't have one. I go, well, Carl, you didn't even pick your packet up. So what are we doing here? Because I come and check and see who's picked their stuff up or not.
Good to start?
Yes.
So under zoning administrator and planning. This assumed that we would stay with an independent contractor. In case we don't, maybe we should plan on paying a wage rather than independent contractor.
It's the same rationale what we just did before.
It is.
For the handyman, we just said,
Yeah,
I think rather than try to back it there, I think we just follow the same protocol and move it up there. And depending what the outcome is.
How many resumes did you get from the ad?
there's 4.
Including Bob's?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what are we going to be doing as of April 1st for zoning administrator?
Are we gonna see these? Are we gonna set a meeting to go over them, to do interviews like we've done in the past? What are we doing with this?
Yeah, it's on the March agenda.
It's on Tuesday's agenda.
So.
Well, we can't be without a zoning administrator. I know that because there's way too many people walking into this township hall looking for the zoning administrator.
So you think about the bottom line there, which is, now if we move the 50,000 into wages, the new bottom line would be 54,775.
I'm not following why we would do that.
Me either.
If we're gonna stick with, and I think we are, contract services. because it has worked well for us. Why would we take on the liability of an employee versus contract employee or contract services? I say we leave it there.
So do I. I don't know why we're not, you haven't even brought Bob's proposed contract in front of the board.
Well, you
That-
have it,
That's,
so you could do it too.
well, but
right?
you're the one
Anybody
who,
can do anything here, right?
that's
Sheriff?
right.
Yeah.
But I asked you when you were going to do it, several meetings back, and I forget which meeting you said, and then you didn't bring it.
So you.
And you
could've-
said, I'm not voting for that. That's what you said.
You could have, you could have
so,
made your
well,
own proposal.
Let's have it on the 312 agenda then. Bob's proposed contract.
So the only reason for putting this into 703 is it's consistent with the handyman. I haven't seen any resumes, so I don't know whether anybody's looking for employment or they're looking as an I-9 or an independent contractor. So I'm
So,
flying blind on that.
but why don't we leave it where it's at until we see the resumes? Because we're not done with budget yet, just.
That's
leave
right.
This department the
We're
way
not
it's at,
adopting this
and then we
budget
can make
today,
more
so-
educated choice.
I can do that. Yeah. And looking at the resumes on Tuesday and we have a following budget meeting, and if I think that there's some opportunity, I may advocate that it be pushed back, so.
Right,
Okay.
but at
For the
least then we'll
purposes
have
for the
a,
purposes of this conversation, it's fine where it's at.
Okay, so it'll stay at 50,950.
Good point, Ardell.
I think we've left more than enough in there at 50,000 for whatever it is we're gonna do. I think you've covered the base there.
Well, it looks like. We're at 18,000 thus far this year. We were 16,000 last year.
18,000 through the end of January.
So
When
you'll
will
have
we have
February and
updated-
March in there.
Will we have updated documents?
Gosh, I don't know. I hope I can get to it soon.
Yeah. It'd be too bad if-
The election put me way behind.
of all that spare labor you have.
I don't have any spare labor to do that work.
So under zoning board of appeals, we kind of talked a little earlier about. Maybe adding some more money to these budgets of the bodies that only meet infrequently. And so, as you can see here, I've recommended a cut. But I probably made this early on.
Well, they've already adopted a new meeting schedule for the next
Yeah,
fiscal
but they
year.
have no budget.
So
And you
It's
can't ask
really
the public to
difficult.
only pigeonhole their meeting or their matters into a meeting every quarter. They have to be able to have a meeting as they
right, but
have
it's
matters
really,
to
it's
attend to.
really hard to judge how often you're actually going to have a ZBA case. So you budget for 12 meetings. You don't use it, you don't use it, but
Right.
they could conceivably have a case come to them once a month.
So note 14 meant to indicate we should make a quarterly mandatory meeting. So they meet at least 4 times a year. January is already a mandatory meeting, and I believe that's by statute.
And we didn't
But-
have one.
But clearly, we've got a lot of work with this group to get their process nailed down. And so, note 14 was meant to say that we have at least 4 mandatory meetings a year. In addition, so yes, plan for all 12, Ardella, but we make 4 of them mandatory.
With
And
the-
if they
with
don't have any business,
Training,
It's training. I mean, they have
who's
to
gonna
get.
put together their training?
They have to get comfortable with running the meeting. I mean, I didn't see the video, but I saw the one in August and, clearly they're not sure what their next step is. And that's just all, I think, a matter of practice.
Well, I think they are very clear with what their next steps are. The August meeting was a total aberration. They had a gazillion people standing out here staring them down, some of them of whom were bullying them. And that intimidated them a little bit, I think, and normally they don't have that to deal with. And I mean, Ken Bowen's been the chair for a long time and he's done a great job as far as I'm concerned. And I don't know that they need a lot of training, 4 meetings worth a year.
Then where's their annual report and their
Who's-
budget according to their bylaws?
As Ron has pointed out, this is budgeting. This is not policy making.
Right.
And mandatory every 4 months is a policy thing.
Yeah.
And
That's
I'm not
right.
even sure where it's going. Is it going in the ordinance for the ZBA? Is it going in their bylaws? Where is it exactly that we would be putting this? That's a policy thing,
It
so
is.
we
Yeah.
can not discuss it today,
Yeah.
if
And
that's
so-
okay.
I would recommend
point.
that we go back to the $3,000 number. And again, I think that $2,500 number came out when I was strictly comparing what we have spent this year so far, $690. But I realized that we had another meeting, I think, in February. Yeah, we had a meeting in February. So
Take that
I'm
back to
fine with the $3,000.
Take that back to 3.
Yep. And to answer your policy question, I would think we would ask them to put it in their bylaws. That's what I think.
Will they
And
be
again-
submitting a budget or an annual report?
And again, their recording secretary wages don't contemplate 12 meetings a year. And if you're contemplating 12 meetings a year for the salaries, then why do you not contemplate
Good
12
point.
meetings a year for
Good
the
point.
recording secretary? They can't operate without one.
Move it back to,
So
Well, no, it'd be 153 times 12.
that's assuming 3 hours long, sure.
I get it. But they just had at their last meeting, they had 3 cases.
What's that, $1,900?
Oh, that's not right. I did the wrong computation. 153 times 12. I come up with 1836.
Okay.
So probably $2,000. Or make it 1,800. Or make it 1,500, I don't know, but something a lot closer to, if you're gonna,
Why don't we do
I said-
15?
if you're gonna plan for 12 for the body itself, you've got to plan for the recording secretary.
So let's make sure that $3,000 is
The right number?
the right number. So I have it as $565 a meeting for the ZBA. And that includes a board member. So 565. That should be $6,780.
6,780,
Yep, so make it $7,000.
7,000. And then to Cheryl's point, if you're budgeting,
565 a meeting,
yes.
okay, times 12.
And
Which
then
came out to-
$1,800 for the
1836 is what I put in there.
1836 is great.
Okay, so I'm sorry, what was the wage number, salary, I mean,
The salary number was 7,000. And
Even?
Yes,
Okay.
and then 703 was 1836.
Yeah, and they had 370 in publishing by the time of January 31st, but then there was 3 notices that had to be published for the last meeting. They had 3 cases.
Is that to 1,000?
No, it wouldn't hurt.
So 703 goes to 2,000.
No,
It said to
901.
1836.
Sorry.
Yeah, 703 is 1836.
Right.
And 901 goes to 1,000. You had 7,000 and 702, 1836 and 703, and then 1,000 and 901.
And the new number is?
I'm gonna have to ask you to repeat what you just said there.
Sure. For 702.
Yep.
We went from 2,500 to 7,000.
Yep.
Full slate of meetings. 703 wages, full slate of meetings, took it to 1836.
Yep.
And then 901 publishing, we took that from 600 to 1,000.
And everything
No
else
other
is the
changes?
same.
I did not record any other changes, nor did I hear any discussion to that effect.
Well, of course, 7, 15, and 16 are gonna change, but.
Oh, yeah, right, the payrolls.
Yeah, right,
Yes.
yeah.
So the new number is 11,562. This next item, Historical Society, was a difficult one for me.
I can imagine.
But I think it's time that the board take some definitive action. One way or the other. We get all of the historical items that have been amassed by the township, and we get a storage facility and we put them in that. It's been brought to our attention that many historical societies operate off of grants and other type of funding. Clearly, this is the 2nd or 3rd year that nobody wants to belong to the Historical Society. And
So my office gets calls from people wanting historical information, and I refer them to Luann. So who would be the person that would answer those questions?
nobody.
I'm not sure that's a valid answer to the public.
Well,
We don't have anybody to answer your question and no one to show you the information, yet we have it. And it's in storage in somewhere.
Okay, but my problem is, and it has been for years, that like Ron said, we don't have anybody volunteering. Is there a reason we don't have anybody joining?
I don't know.
I think we do know. And
So,
okay, I feel like
just because I don't
know.
want to make an assumption.
Yeah,
Which,
well,
no, I
it-
don't know.
if people aren't joining, maybe it's because of the leadership.
Oh,
Okay, and the fact that we created a position for Luann. And with the agreement that there would be educational, we'd have new software. She would do all the research on it, she would get educated on it, and none of that has happened, none. So we're still paying for the same thing that we paid for all along.
Yeah.
For her to take a document, look at it and type it in. That's it. I don't know about scanning. We don't have access to anything she's doing, and I got a problem with that. I don't know how much is here, how much is at her house. If we close this department down, what's actually gonna come back to Whitewater? We don't know, because none of it's tracked. And that's what I have a problem with funding this department for. I would love to have a robust historical society group. I would love it. We got a lot of history right here in this building on these walls. But there is so much more in those filing cabinets that never get opened by anybody but Luann. And we don't have any place to display our history. So displaying it on an internet site where all could have access to it should be the goal. But we're not working anywhere near getting to that goal. If we were, it'd be in Luann's written reports that she submits, and it's not.
Well, I think part of the problem is that I presume for economic reasons that Luann has another job. She does have another job that she works 2 or 3 days a week. And since we created the Historical Society Director position, her mother has needed care and has moved up here and lives with them. And I think that takes up some of Luann's time, and I haven't seen her. I mean, she just did work the 227 election, cause she's an election inspector also. But, I just think that she doesn't have the time to devote to it. And I think she has good intentions. She thinks she's going to. I've mentioned to her, Luann, you haven't turned in any time in a while. Well, I've done some things, but I just haven't turned in the time. And I think she just doesn't really, realistically, if she was honest with herself, I think she just doesn't have the time to do it. And I don't know that there's anybody out there, else that wants to do it, even for pay.
But we really haven't reached out to the community and said, we are looking for
We have not.
a
right?
historical director and
Yeah.
members to take over the Historical Society. We haven't done that. There may be people out there that would jump at the chance to be able to be a part of a group like that. Have any of you ever went through the Fife Lakes Museum?
Mhm.
Their historical stuff that they have in there. It's amazing. And that all started with their Historical Society.
Yeah.
And it's developed into that. That's town history. And
Is that, does the village pay somebody to do that, or does the township pay somebody to do
that,
that?
Cheryl, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know the mechanics on it there, but when we discussed, what was it, 3 years ago, five years ago? What'd you say it was?
Is my recollection.
When we discussed it,
it's been a while.
About-
Well, no, it was
predates me.
before COVID.
It predates me.
yeah,
It was
making
before
it an
COVID,
actual.
because Luann was coming in here, 1 or 2 days a week for a few hours before COVID, and then she hasn't really been here since COVID.
Right.
She only comes here, I think, maybe on the weekends once in a while, or, I've seen her a couple other times in here.
I'm not sure, Ron, I'm quite ready to box everything up and put it in the basement at the county. Or wherever it is they have their storage. I'm not sure I'm quite ready for that, but I am ready for a change for this. I mean, I'm frustrated with it. Is that where you're at?
I don't know as I'm frustrated. I mean, people's availability change.
Yes, it does.
What I'm looking at is the valuable space that the Historical Society takes up in this building. And we're already crunched for space beyond reasonable means. And I also look at, I've talked to no less than 4 or 5 people, one now deceased, about their interest in the Historical Society. Yes, we want to do that. But we can never get them to a meeting. And again, I think it goes back to what's happening in our personal lives. We would like to do some things, as Cheryl said, but reality, we just don't have it. So until we do get that, I'll say, personnel in place, what are we doing? What are we protecting, to your point? I don't know. I haven't seen any of it. She doesn't come before the board. She doesn't give us any idea of what she's organizing or typing. You know, her reports are kind of bland, and that's okay. But we should have some idea of where the organized material is at. What's the backup protocol? You know? We don't have any of that. We don't have really any oversight of this happening.
Didn't we, in a newsletter sometime back, I don't remember when, didn't we, Luann, I think, actually put a little ad in, asking for,
It was me.
was you?
It wasn't
Okay.
Luann.
Oh, okay.
And I have sent people to her that were interested and I've never seen anything back from it.
Yeah,
So if I give them her phone number and her email address because they're interested in joining, I never hear back.
yeah.
But I follow up with those people that contact me, okay? And it's just that they haven't reached out, or I've never had anybody tell me, I'm waiting to hear back from the township. I've never had anybody tell me that.
And I haven't followed it after I give them
Sure, yeah.
the information, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
The only reason I do is because I really have a soft spot for this department in my own heart, right? I don't want to see it go completely away. I would like to see it more robust. I would personally fund it, even though I know members of the public don't think that's good expenditure of taxpayer money. I think it is. But to your point, if we're not making forward progress, then we need to regroup.
Regrouping is a good way to put it. You know, since 2021 or before that, before COVID hit, Luann was the only member. People slowly died off and
So
No.
There were
since-
3 other members at one time, and then Larry Lake quit coming to meetings. And then the other 2 members did pass away.
right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as a matter of, how many times today we discussed it, it's a matter of policy that we're discussing now and changing that, so. For the matter at hand, in terms of the budget that's been presented. Is that acceptable by the line items, knowing that this matter is going to require. Further discussion and to your point, and brainstorming on what do we actually want this to be.
I agree, Don, as long as we understand that we are not agreeing to necessarily to Ron's note 16. Is that 16?
Yeah.
Just because it's in the budget doesn't necessarily, that's policy that we're gonna have to discuss later.
Then you
Well, I
just
think
want
so.
to
I don't think that the budget, note 16 is a blanket approval for Ron or anyone to just say,
Right.
we
No,
can
no.
do that.
Or come back in the middle of the year and say, well, you agreed on it because it's in the budget.
No.
You
Yeah, I
wanna
don't,
do that.
I do not view a note 16, and I would defend that to anybody that
Okay,
that is not a permission to do that. It is merely a placeholder for a future discussion, and if that happens to be the
as
outcome.
long as we're clear on that,
Yeah.
I'm good
You
with
and I are
that.
clear.
So in
So
that,
noted.
in that matter, then let's just keep the 7,500 as it was last year.
I'm sorry,
Instead of the 3,000,
Instead of the
Or 72.
recommended 3,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
If that's the board's feeling, which is basically support for the Historical Society, then let's just keep the budget at 7,500, which I think is down about 50% from the previous year.
Well, and I think it should become an agenda item at some point, and we have Luann present. And we have a discussion about the direction of the Historical Society. And she needs to be part of this discussion. You know,
Oh, absolutely.
she does, yeah.
Yeah.
She does hold the position, and you know, I don't wanna just shut down something on her without her even getting a chance to weigh in on it.
and it's not like she knew we were gonna do this today.
No,
and
she
it's-
didn't, no.
no.
So,
So let's just take the previous year's numbers and transpose them to this year. Okay,
Which is the,
so that'd be 75,
yep,
1,200, 500, 5, 0, 5,000, 100, 360, 100, 0, 250.
Which was, I was just gonna suggest we just do 10-5. So that's pretty close.
And I made an error in my speaking. The previous professional services was only $1,000. And so maybe we want to drop that back to 1,000 instead of 5,000.
Oh, I thought you said that.
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought that's what you just listed off.
No, he,
When
he,
you
he
went through
listed
those
off
numbers.
the
It is,
expense.
Cheryl, but in review, I misspoke there. The previous year's value was only 1,000. I was contemplating a different outcome, that the board would consider some type of storage to clean out our copy room. So that's what that money was there for.
So you're just leaving it at 10,604
I don't know where you got 10,604.
I added
It's from
up
last year's budget,
last year's budget.
but it changes the social security and the Medicare.
Right.
It's different, it's gonna be different.
So do we want to remain?
Why would
at-
it be different?
Do we want to remain at 5,000 for professional services or 1,000?
here's why I would advocate we stay for the 5,000 in professional services, because, and I'm not, it's not for the movement, it's not for the movement into storage. My thought process, and again, we haven't explored any of this in terms of policy, but I think it's worth having a discussion that maybe some of these things, we could hire somebody to come in with a scanner and scan some of this stuff in that has the proper piece of equipment to get. I mean, a lot of this stuff is multi-dimensional. It's not 8.5 by 11 or 11 by, and so, you know, there are companies out there that do catalog and library. So I'm a fan of leaving the 5,000 because I have a tendency that may be somewhere where I'm leaning towards getting some of this stuff cleaned up. Now, once we get that, maybe it does, some things do go to storage because we don't have space to hang, but I think it's important to get these things
Digitalized, yeah.
So, to your
I
point.
could agree with
so,
that, Don.
Okay, so I'm a proponent of leaving the 5,000 in there.
Well, I think Luann was planning on doing that. And I think she's got a scanner.
But she doesn't, what Don's saying is they come in with these big
Oh, I know.
scanners.
Yeah, I
like
get
that,
it.
That you
Right.
can lay those pictures out. Or
Right, yeah.
those
No, I get
maps
it.
or whatever. it
And we
happens
can
to
also
be.
go to the Elk Rapids Library and borrow theirs.
Could could you just run down those numbers again?
Yep.
So I'm,
Let me know when everybody's ready.
Ready?
Cheryl,
Yep.
Katie,
Yep.
Don,
yes, sir.
75.
Okay.
1,200.
Okay.
The new 715 is 539.
Okay.
The new Medicare is 126.
Okay.
Then I have 500.
Yep.
5, 0, 5,000, 100, 360, 100, 0, 250.
I guess I don't understand why 715 and 716 change when those rates haven't changed.
I
How
don't,
does that? compute?
so.
Because he went from 3,000 to 7,500.
No.
No, I'm looking at last year's budget.
So those numbers, Cheryl, come directly off of the year-end document you sent out. I could have made a data entry error, but you're right, it does not equal 0.062%.
Well, 0.062% is 539.40.
Yes,
And I'm just wondering, we must have had an error last year.
that's,
That would be
or I picked up an error.
a
Right.
reasonable takeaway.
Yeah, because, right, because we got $8,700 in wages.
Mhm.
The other one, 126.
Thing doesn't wanna work all of a sudden. Anyways, I'll take those numbers.
Yeah, I'm guessing
Yeah.
last week was.
So what's the bottom line then?
15,681.
That's what it is.
Okay,
You said 16,681?
15,681.
I bad fingered something.
So the next line item that I'm using is 714, which we've never used before. And this contemplates, again, a policy thing, so I don't really want to get enamored down in it too far. But this is a calculation, I think, of 10% of the wages that are paid above.
Which we adjusted some of those figures.
And so this is not a calculation box. And so this probably changed a little bit. I don't know why it's not a calculation box. Oh, I know. So the calculation box is actually up under the pension plan. So this in itself is a data error. Because it adds it in twice.
So you'll have to give us a new number on that apparently.
Well, we've taken care of it up under the pension plan.
So you're saying this should be zero?
So I'm saying that this should be zero. Yep. That this should be zero because we've taken care of it up under the pension plan. No, I take that back. Pension plan is different than health insurance.
Yeah, it's not the same line item.
Yeah. So
Did 714 get added someplace else?
no.
That's what I was looking.
Well, yeah, they have it under, you have it under fire fund, I think.
So
But is it also under township?
excuse me. This line item refers to the pension plan because it's the same function. It's the same mathematical formula, 10%. Okay. And so this line item right here should equal what we set aside for pension.
It's the exact same number.
Yep. So in discussion today, we set aside 7,700 as the pension plan. So the health insurance plan should then also be 7,700.
You got 72, I got 7,200. Did you change it to 7,700 and I miswrote it?
I have 7,700 as well.
Liability insurance, anybody got
So this
questions?
is, I'm sorry, I missed it.
Yep.
7,714 is going to what?
7,700. Now, in reality, we may not be able to contribute 10%, right?
Yeah.
I think we have some limitations and I have not really done my homework there, but I think it's under 10% for the employer contribution. But 77 will cover us.
Liability.
Yep.
Next.
I bumped that up a little bit. I'm afraid I haven't covered enough.
I don't think you have either.
Personally, I'm experiencing about a 23% increase in my liability insurance policy,
And that's if you didn't have any claims.
and I had no
I
claims.
think it was more than that.
I'm sorry,
I think my, was more than that last year, but,
you have a liability policy?
well, I'm talking about my house insurance. There's
Okay.
liability under there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
the
I
liability.
have a liability policy that
Oh, okay, yeah,
covers all perils.
yeah.
And that's kind of like what we have here. So, 20% of 9,700, let's call it $2,000. So,
I think 16's
I think
good.
you're okay with 16.
okay, good enough.
I'm not,
Okay.
Workers' comp,
I
we
mean,
should,
this is only for township board
yep,
employees,
yep.
not the whole township.
Workers' comp, you think we've only got $813 so far this year? Does that,
Well, I think that we probably got a refund. It was probably more than that. And then we put the refund back to the account and that's really what it was. You know, we had to pay
Okay.
some more than that. I see we took some money out of contingency
so we'll
and
leave
I
that at
think,
$4,000?
I think so.
Okay,
Oh,
fine
it's
with
plenty,
that
I think.
4,000.
Yeah.
So
for
20
workers' comp.
total?
Yes,
Yep.
we don't have any dangerous jobs in the township.
so if you notice on the electronic version, 14,109, the contingency from the previous year is a link. And so that takes you to the revenue expense report, which was embedded, and there's the list of all the contingencies that were covered.
In any event, 20,000 would seem to be enough. The only thing that's gonna come out of that is if we have some end of the year budget amendments. That we need to take money from contingency. To cover.
So we're gonna leave contingency at 20,000.
I don't
Good
think
with
there's
that.
anything that points that it's gonna be anything higher that
Yeah.
we know of, right? So
I think that's right.
I think based on what we know, I think it's a good number.
I didn't research what capital expenditures we had planned for this particular cost center. But that could have been the HVAC.
Capital expenditure was 85,000. And that was 25,000 for township hall paint, flooring, moving. 40,000 for township hall heating. 10,000 for township hall new bathrooms and 10,000 for township hall lights. That adds up to 85,000. None of that got done.
Do we want to leave that number in there?
I would, cause now I gotta fix the ceiling. Well, yeah, but he might be changing your whole heating system.
I'm
Well,
good
but
to-
that we've already talked about is coming out of facility repairs and maintenance, I believe. Wouldn't that come out of facility repairs and maintenance, fixing the ceiling?
That would, but she said heat system.
Oh, I know
That would
that
be
we've been intermingling
That'd be.
all
something
these
completely
things.
different.
Well, we
I'm good
had
to leave the 80.
40,000.
Leave it.
The need didn't go away. It's another one of those things came April 2nd. Just
You're still gonna have
fell
it there.
away. Yeah.
It's still gonna
And you
be
can
there.
see, we took some out of that for something. I don't remember now exactly what, but that budget was amended down to 54,514.
Yeah, so now there's only
And so we'll
54,000.
just include the
We still
same,
didn't spend any.
we'll just include the same notes from our current budget on this budget. Is everybody?
That makes sense.
That makes sense to me.
Okay,
So we're putting this number at 85 or 54?
85.
85.
Yeah, so you had 0 in there.
yeah. When convenient, can you guys flip the note 19?
You say transfer out, you mean out of general into.
So I don't know that 35,000 will actually do it for road fund. Since I made this budget, we did get the estimate in from Grand Traverse County, Brine. So we should check that, and that document is in our next board packet. So my math might not be absolutely correct. And this is another fund, the road fund, that we had, I think, indicated we wanted to transfer some money from our current budget into that fund that hasn't taken place yet. I'm recommending we do recreation 100,000. Here's the big one, park at 400. And I'm recommending that we work that as a loan from general fund. We could even,
I don't understand why though,
okay,
because we're taking park funds, 85% of it, and transferring it back into general at the end of every season. However, if we give park fund 400,000, we're gonna call it a loan from general? Isn't that just moving the money back that we took from it?
no,
I mean, all these ins and outs, it makes it very non-transparent what's happening with the money.
well, I think it's very transparent because what we found with Park is that there were a lot of expenses that the board didn't know about, quite frankly. And so this allows the board to be in financial control of the park.
Every
We are
expense
in
of the
financial
park
control.
was known by the board.
Okay.
Every expense, anything that had to be approved by the board was approved. You got the revenue expenditure reports, you had the treasurer balancing reports. Every expense was accounted for.
I'm still not in favor of taking money out of a fund and putting it in general.
Different question.
And I'm not in favor of that.
Okay.
I'm in favor of leaving the money in the fund it was generated from. And then if the township board needs to transfer additional general funds to that fund for operation, for whatever purpose, then go ahead and call that money a loan. This back and forth stuff, I'm sorry, the average citizen is not gonna be able to follow what's going on here. And as far as the comment that the board needs to have more control because they don't know where the money's going, I don't agree with that either. we have control. You leave the money in the park fund, you know exactly how much you're accumulating in that park fund. You see it, it's there. You still have control of it. Moving it from one fund to another isn't giving you any more control. It's just not. It's just playing shuffle. And I don't agree with it.
What's the 400,000 gonna be spent on at the
That-
park?
That's detailed in the park budget.
Well, I think we better get the transfers made that have already been made, and then at the budget, you know, we see where we're at. I'm not sure gonna have that in the general fund to loan to the park fund, to tell you the truth.
According to the last report, there is what, $760 some thousand, if not more, just well. I don't know,
Before
because-
budgeted transfers.
Because the information's old that we get here, so doing the best we can.
Well,
So
I say we just leave it there, because we need to wrap this up. I got other things to do, and,
for the
I don't have any more
conversation's
time
sake
for
of
this
this
today.
meeting, does anybody have a problem with 35 to road fund and 100 to recreation?
I don't,
That gets us. Or do we just want to leave this blank?
Why don't you leave it blank till you see where you're at and then put it in?
Okay. As it sits right now, we're 517,000 in the red.
Is
just
that
about the
even?
amount of all those transfers.
What's that, Cheryl?
I said just about the amount of all those transfers.
Understand that, but okay.
Well, right
Well,
down
we
here
got
where it says
$535,000 of transfers, and you said you're $517,000 in the red. So
No,
that's what you just said. Didn't you just say we're $517,000 in the red? I
That
thought
is
that's
what I
what I
said.
heard you say.
that is what I said.
Okay, and the $535,000 of transfers, almost equal that. That's just my point. Are we done with this?
General revenues as contemplated today are 664,246.
246.
664,246. And with no transfers out, our expenditures, our proposed expenditures are 824,383.
Because for 999. We're gonna put that to zero then? Because at this particular point, we don't know exactly what we're gonna need to transfer out.
I guess that's what the board has decided to do. At the very least, we know that recreation is going to need some funding for the potential Lossy Road Nature Trail. We know that.
A lawsuit? That'll come out of general fund attorney fees.
Okay, he
No,
said
that's
nothing
not-
about a lawsuit
I
right
think you
there.
misheard him, Cheryl.
What- oh, I'm
Ask
sorry.
him
Oh,
what he said
lawsuit trail?
again.
Oh, I thought
Lawsuit
you,
trail.
I'm sorry. I thought you said a lawsuit.
And then we know that Brian agreed.
There's- could be.
Still.
And yeah, but I think I'm close.
Yeah.
I think I figured about 40,000 for the buying agreement, and I think it come in at 37,000.
Crazy how much that has went
Oh,
up
my.
since we started.
I tell you, I'm looking at a
Just-
business to do that. Mhm. So, okay.
It doesn't
um,
sound like it's gone up that much from last year, to tell you the truth.
No, I'm not talking about from last year, I'm talking about,
Oh, overall, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, oh, well, look
Any
at
other-
inflation.
Board comments or discussion,
at the time.
public comment here in the township hall.
Good afternoon. I am here because I had a phone call saying, can you get on the Zoom meeting for the board meeting this morning? I thought, no. I just never checked because I was doing some other things, but after they did, they thought it was important. I in particular was interested in the park fund discussion, the budget discussion. And that's what I listen at home. I can have my earbuds in and do other things, but it takes a lot out of my day to come down here in person and sit when I know I have other things that I'm supposed to be doing. So I would appreciate if the Zoom could be back on at the budget meetings. I know you think that people aren't really interested in budget meetings, may not know exactly what's going on, but we're willing to learn and ask questions for that which we do not know, and hope we can contribute in some form or fashion. So please take that into consideration. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 13:55 or 12:55.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
Well, no, he made the motion to adjourn, right?
No,
He asked if there was a motion to adjourn.
Heidi made the motion.
Okay, what's your motion, Heidi?
To adjourn at 12:55.
12:55 PM.
Sure.
Bennett,
Yes.
Goss, yes, Glenn,
Yes.
Balmuth,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
and now it's 12:56.